everyone that sleeps dreams. Just because you don't
Dreams.
recall it, you were dreaming. You were somewhere else. And
Exactly.
even if you don't recall a single second of your dream, you were still dreaming. You just don't have the capacity to recall it yet or control it. And that's that. Let's get into that real quick. Like, actually, I want to tell you my story too about my first one,
Yeah,
but
yeah, yeah.
I want to get into like the recall because if you can't even be aware that you're dreaming, you're not gonna be able to lucid dream. That's the first thing. So like people that are like, I want to try this. How do I do this? If you don't think you have dream, if you're not consistently dreaming, you're not gonna get there. You
Exactly.
gotta get to that point first, and that's like you said,
Yep.
it's practice. And hey, everybody, thanks for joining us here at the ARvibes Good Vibes podcast. You got myself, Alex, and Akeem on here today. Might have a couple others jump in. And today we're going to be focusing on one specific topic. As you guys know, conversations sometimes can branch off from there, but we're going to try to stay on topic here today and talk to you guys about lucid dreaming, which is Akeem's favorite topic, he said. So he came up with the idea of what we're going to talk about today. And once he came up with the idea, I was fired up myself. I lucid dream. I'm huge into the dream world. I have a lot of different thoughts on the dream world. So it's going to be some interesting combo. So to get it kicked off, I'm going to give it over to Akeem because he's very knowledgeable on lucid dreaming as well, and this is his favorite topic. So I'm going to kick it over to him, and we're just going to get into open conversation for you guys. And if you have any questions, feel free to leave comments on any of our platforms. Reach out to us on any of the platforms. If you have any suggestions from what you've heard, just comment, all the above. So with that, Akeem, I'm going to pass it to you, brother, and we'll get this conversation going. And why don't we
Uh,
start by you just letting the community know, like, what is a lucid dream? I know it's a simple start, but like some people might be like, I know it's a dream, but it's more than a dream. Why don't we just start like the high level for like somebody who might have no clue what a lucid dream is and what we're going to be talking about today, and
so a
we'll
lucid
progress.
dream is kind of a dream that it's kind of like they would call it sometimes uh traveling or whatever, where you have a dream that seems so vivid, and it seems like you're there, seems like you have somewhat control of the dream, but the moment some people who don't know what they're doing or barely slip into it without like consciously realizing, they get that momentary control and then they lose it,
They
and then
wake
they
up.
wake up and they're like, oh my
Yep.
god, what was that? Or like
Yep.
you have a dream that you're doing something, you have like a pocket full of money or something, and then you wake up and you check your pockets because you're like, oh my god, that was so real, like
Right.
I had. And or like people that like say like they're dreaming that they're falling and then they wake up trying to catch themselves
Yep.
because it's your mind doesn't know you're sleeping. And literally the reason when you fall asleep, like if you notice, if whenever you lay down and you close your eyes, you try to consciously be awake sometimes, but literally you'll get little itches all over your body, or you'll get little nerve ends, whatever. It's literally your mind checking if you're asleep, because
Gotcha.
once you're asleep, then it takes you off and then you could dream. It's kind of like, for me, I call it traveling.
Astral
And
projection in a sense, right? I call it astral travel
exactly,
too, but I feel actually, you know
because
what? Here's a term I learned today. I didn't want to throw it out there until you said
yeah.
that, but I was listening to an expert in a podcast recently, and he calls it neuronauts, like an astronaut, and he says the word
Yeah,
neuro stands for dream. And it's
neuronauts.
essentially a traveler of the dream world, a neuronaut. And I was like, I
Yeah,
like that. I like that. So
hell yeah.
neuronaut or astral travel in the
Well,
yeah.
astral travel, neuronaut. Yep, yep. That's a new word for me too.
I didn't
But
research it. He
yeah,
said neuro stands for dream. I didn't really look deep enough into it, but it made sense when he
yeah.
was talking about
Honestly,
it. I was
the
like,
neural
oh wow,
network of the
yeah,
mind, the dreamscape.
yep,
But like honestly, that once you start to like get more kind of like into it, like me, I was very intrigued by it, because once I found this out, I'm like, well, if this is true, that means like you can basically control your dreams.
yep,
You can travel, you can make anything a reality. So I started thinking kind of like how to do this, start looking up the different levels of sleeping, where you go from REM sleep to deep sleep and all that. And I it came to figure out you gotta like it's kind of like a learning experience. Like, also
Right.
while I was looking this up, I was deep into philosophy,
Oh
and
yeah.
deep into philosophy, I figured out there was this guy, a Socrates. He was one of the first philosophers, and he said, "How do you know you exist? Because I think it. I think I am, so I am." And that right there is basically you bringing yourself into existence,
Right. Is that, would you
and
call
you
that
exist
consciousness at the simplest level?
exactly.
Yeah.
So once you're conscious like that, I'm like, okay, so if that's true, then my consciousness, okay, where was I before I was born? Where do I go when I go to sleep? Where do I
Right.
go when I die? I go to the same place I was before I was born.
Right.
Exactly.
Let me ask you, brother. When did it start for you? We'll get deep into it, but I
Oh,
gotta ask, like, when did you? Because I'm gonna tell you mine too, but I want to hear yours first. Where did you first realize? Like you said, it's almost like you had an experience and didn't expect it. And we're like, what the hell was that?
yeah,
And like
exactly.
kept pushing. What was the
So
first time? Like, try to tell me a little bit about your first
so
time in that dream world.
honestly, one day I was what was it? Okay. So the first time that I ever felt anything like it kind of like, you know, when something happens and it hits a nerve and you kind of remember a bunch of stuff that you couldn't explain, and then you started like, holy shit,
Yep.
this is what this was.
Yep.
So I think it has to do something with trauma in a way, where it scars you in a way. Your scars your conscious. So your conscious
Okay.
brings you back to certain places.
Oh, I
So
love that
for
you
me,
said that.
for
It's a
me,
healing process.
one
Yep.
day I was going through all these changes with my spirituality and going through all this, everything. And I was like laying down, and I don't even, we sleep to tones. Me and my wife, we sleep to these meditative tones and different sleep
Nice.
tones and healing tones and stuff like that every single night without missing a night.
That's
So
huge,
one
bro. You know
night,
what? I don't mean to cut you off, but I was doing that for a long time, and I slowly got to a point where I was just like, is this disturbing my dreams? But I was having great dreams, and I kind of just stopped. But now hearing that you still do it all the time,
yeah,
I'm gonna go back to it because I was having the dreams were a lot more vivid when I had like
yep,
binary beats going, and I kind of
exactly,
just faded away and stopped doing it. But I don't know why I
because
stopped.
the universe is sound.
Yep.
Everything is sound. Everything in creation is vibration. Sound is vibration.
Yep.
So, like, you ever seen the experiment on where they put the sand and then they, do the sound, and it makes different
Yeah. Yep.
different structures and stuff like that. You got to think of it like your mind. That's what the sound's doing with your mind as you're sleeping.
Right.
So you're getting all these different frequencies and all that, and in your dream state. So one night, I'm like, so I close my eyes, and my conscious is awake. My body is sleeping, but my conscious, I'm trying to hold on. When you're laying there and your eyes are closed, I'm trying to hold on. I'm like, what
Hmm.
happened if I hold on? What happens if I hold on? So I'm holding on, and my eyes are closed, and I'm fighting to sleep, but I'm not opening my eyes. I'm keeping it in complete darkness. And I could hear this. And all of a sudden, something happened. Like, it's like scratchy, like it looked like a TV that's like the signals like all scratchy.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
Yeah.
and then all of a sudden I start to see colors. And it's like a splash of colors, like a wave, like I don't even know how to explain it. It's like I'm in water with different colors, and it's just floating everywhere. And as I'm starting to realize this, my mind is starting to think of what colors I'm seeing. And as I think of the colors, I'm starting to slowly see them in the dark. And as I'm laying there, I'm like, hold on just a little bit longer, just a little bit
Yeah.
longer. And I started doing this every night. And this honestly didn't happen overnight. Like, I started doing it every
Oh, you're freezing up on me. I don't know why.
night once I started to notice.
You're back.
Then one night,
You were freezing up
I'm
for a
having
second.
this
I don't know
dream.
why, but
And all of a sudden, like in my dreams, like I started all of a sudden seeing myself, like from the back, from the side, from the thing, and different things were happening, but it was like out of focus. Then
right.
all of a sudden, I kept doing it, kept at it, just kept chipping away. One day, I went to sleep, and I'm not sleeping. I'm laying there, and I'm like, this is becoming easier. It's like a muscle. The more you use it, The more you flex it, it becomes stronger. So I'm laying there, and all of a sudden, in my dream, I'm standing in the middle of like an aisle. And then all of a sudden, I'm like, I'm me. I'm in the aisle. And I remember looking at my hand, and I'm like, what the and it's like your mind is trying to like build your body in that world.
Oh,
Like
I
you're trying to
apologize.
look around.
Did you
um,
what did you do when you saw your hands? Because like that's like I know through like different research, that's one of the big tips they say is like first look at like two things: look at your
it's
fingers and count them, or see if you can push through your hand. And like they say, a lot of times people have 11
yeah,
fingers,
and
9
that's what
fingers, and you're like, what the
so
hell? Because like you said, it's trying to build it.
yep,
It's trying to build you for
dude,
you.
I saw my hand. Yep, exactly. When I saw my hand, my first thing was, what can I see? Like out. And I like started looking, and what it was like aisles. Like it was like I was in a grocery store outside,
Damn.
and it was just aisles everywhere. And I'm like, what the fuck? And I'm like, what's going on? And I'm just looking around, and then it feel like I got like pulled away, and then I passed out. And I remember waking up that morning, sitting up, thinking to myself, like, holy crap, like holy shit.
Yeah, I
Then
did
all of
it,
a
but I
sudden,
got stuck.
every night. Yeah, and then all of a sudden, every night after that, I started trying to do it more and more and more. And then one day, I had this experience. I had to talk to my grandmother because she's very spiritual and stuff like that. So I just had to get answers because I had this one experience that I just couldn't explain. And it was like I slipped into that dream and I'm myself. And I'm like, holy crap, like what the and it seemed like I was in the world but outside of the world at the same time. And
Yep.
there's this big rock wall, like this huge rock wall. And I'm trying to climb into the world, but I can't get in because I'm just slipping off the sand. And as I'm slipping off the sand, I'm on this beach and I'm just walking. And I look over to the water, and there's these stone huts on the water, and there's people sitting there. And I'm just looking on the water, and the stone huts are just on the water. And my mind's just thinking, how's that possible? Stone things in water, and I'm walking and I'm walking, and then all of a sudden these people are just getting up and walking closer to me. So all of a sudden they're chasing me, and I'm running on this beach, and I'm trying to get over this wall like hell, and I'm just running and running. I remember this was so real, dude. I'm sweating, like pouring sweat, and I imagine knowing it's a dream and like you can't wake up. Those
That's
factors
scary.
of like I can't get up. I'm trying to wake myself up. I'm scared. So I run to the rock wall and I'm trying to get over. And then all of a sudden I look through, and I can see like a place I used to live when I was younger in like Lemoyne Street in Nashua, New Hampshire. And all of a sudden I jump through and I'm in the parking lot, just standing there. And I'm like, what the? And boom, gone. Like literally blanked out. And then some nights it would feel like I'm floating, looking at things happening from a distance, like when I'm having dreams like that, and they'd be so vivid and like literally it's like you can't mistake it.
Right.
And literally when I wake up and I'm like, where was I? What am I looking at? Am I in the future? Am I in the past? And sometimes you're like, oh, they're just dreams. But if they're just dreams, and how the hell can I be in them? How can I control them? How
Right.
is it that my mind is literally in two places at once?
I love that you put it like that. And there's actually a lot of scientists out there. It's in theory right now that
Yep.
argue that's reality. This is the dream. This is just
Oh,
it's
yeah,
more like we're
yeah, yeah.
stuck in this dream. We're stuck here, and it's harder to
In
leave
this
here.
dream
And that's why
world, yeah,
sleeping we naturally go there. You know, and that's
yeah.
the other thing
Like
I'll point out.
that's the actual
Everybody,
reality.
yeah, and another thing is a lot of people will come to me and be like, "Oh, I don't dream. I don't dream." I don't think people realize everyone that sleeps dreams. Just because you don't
Dreams,
recall it, you were dreaming. You were somewhere else. And
exactly.
even if you don't recall a single second of your dream, you were still dreaming. You just don't have the capacity to recall it yet or control it. And that's that. Let's get into that real quick. Like, actually, I want to tell you my story too about my first one,
Yeah,
but
yeah, yeah.
I want to get into like the recall because if you can't even be aware that you're dreaming, you're not gonna be able to lucid dream. That's the first thing. So like people like people that are like, I want to try this. How do I do this? if you don't think you have if you're not consistently dreaming, you're not going to get there. You got to get to that point first, and that's like you said, it's practice. And I'm gonna tell you my first time, and what was funny about it. I was actually a kid, and I remember being a kid, and what I used to do is I would wake up early for school. Me and my brothers and sisters would fight over the heater. We had a heater in the hallway that was like this high up, and we would sleep in front of the heater before school, right? And I remember being a kid, and I'd be having an awesome dream or a nightmare, whichever one. I didn't have a lot of nightmares. That's funny. Well, nightmares are going to be on this topic too. I got a lot of nightmares, but I didn't have a lot of nightmares. I was having like good dreams, and I'd wake up. I'd go to my heater. It'd be like 5 in the morning, 4:30 in the morning, which we'll talk about that too. Those are big times after I researched when I got older. And I'd lay down, and I'd get right back to where I was. And I'm like, whoa. And I wouldn't control it at first when I was a kid, but this would happen often. And I'd be like, why? It's like, oh, I woke up, I go back to bed, and I come back here. And then I wake up again because my grandmother would come down the hallway like, get the hell out of here. Go to your bed. I'd go to my bed, go back to sleep, and it hit me again. And I'm like, whoa. And it took me a few years to figure that out.
And that's what I'm talking about like not realizing what's happening at first.
Exactly. It's more of like a confusion, or for me, it was more of like a fascination, honestly. I was like, this is cool. Like, I'm lucky enough to lose my dream, and then it comes right back when I go back to sleep, like instantly. I'm like, this is amazing. But when I did research, I realized that's
scary. It could be scary though if you're having a nightmare. Like that used to happen to me when I had a nightmare. I'd wake up and then I'd sleep and I'd go right back into it, and I'd be like, holy fuck. Like, you know?
Yeah, no, of course. And we're definitely gonna talk about nightmares, because I've done a lot of research on it with just dreams in general before lucid dreaming. But what nightmares are, from all the research I've done, are essentially messages that need to heal you internally. So if you're coming into a nightmare that's constantly the same thing, it's trying to address something in yourself that when you come back to the 3D world, you need to work on. Whether it's a fear of like an irrational fear, like there's snakes all over me all the time. I'm afraid of snakes. But if it's constantly in your dreams, you need to work on your root chakra. You need to find a way to feel more secure and safe, and not.
With the serpent.
That's bringing you there. Yeah, that's what's bringing you to that nightmare all the time. And it's traumas most of the time, and different anxieties in your life that will bring those types of dreams. Because in reality, dreams are supposed to be calming and enjoyable, even if you're not controlling them. They're supposed to be pleasant moments that you wake up to, like, oh, I wish I remembered all that, you know?
It was so nice.
Yeah. And so before we jumped on this, Akeem and I talked briefly about morning routine. And he used to do a dream journal. He doesn't do it anymore, which is cool. But I'm going to mention it for like anybody who doesn't lucid dream yet and it's new to you. That is a huge first step. And I like looking at a bunch of research on it from different. It's hard to research dreams, by the way, people. So when I throw out stats, the stats are always like what they've done a lot of different research, what they feel is accurate. But you can't literally say 100% of people dream about this. You don't know. It's hard to prove.
Yeah.
So, but the statistics here is 5 minutes after you wake up, 90% of people are going to lose 50% of the dream they just had. And if you wait 10 minutes after you wake up, you lose it. But here's where it gets awesome. You might be at dinner that night, eating with your family, and oh shit, the dream I had came back. Like, you know what I mean? But if you take that time, like for me, honestly, I have a dream journal, and Akeem will tell you he does the same thing, but without writing. His first thing is to reflect on his dreams. For me,
immediately,
I've been slacking. I can't lie. And my dreams haven't been as easy to control. So that's another thing I want to point out. This isn't something that you can do all the time. If you start losing it, you got to regain find the way to get back to it, you know? And I know you get that. So like me, I stopped doing the dream journal for a little bit, and then it was harder to get in there. I'm like, what the hell? And I'm like, I was doing this all the time. And I realized the dream journal was huge because I'm waking up and I'm processing right away. Even if you don't remember, like I saw the color green. I don't remember what it was, but I remember green was in there. Write down green. And then the next day you might be like, oh, green was there again. It was a green car that drove by me. And it will just keep picking up every time it comes back, the more you stay on it and in a dream journal. So like, what are your thoughts, Akeem, like for like, again, a morning routine, like after those facts, like the 5 and 10 minutes, 10 minutes, you lose almost the whole dream.
Yeah.
If you don't recall it right away.
Yeah, honestly, a dream journal, definitely to start for beginners, because you got to think about it. Like you said, the first 5 minutes to 10 minutes, and some people, the first thing they're thinking of is not that. They're thinking about getting up, getting their alarm off, going out the door. They're thinking about this. They're thinking about getting up, brushing their teeth. They're thinking about this. They're thinking about that. But if they have a dream journal next to their bed, as soon as they look, something like a bright color, it'll get them right away. And they'll be like, all right, yeah, this and this happened, this and this happened. If you can't remember how to do that, try to remember in the morning. Maybe write something down, keywords and stuff like that. For me, I live for this type of stuff. So for me, as soon as I wake up, that's the first thing I'm thinking of.
Right.
As soon as I go to bed is the last thing I'm thinking of. Because
Let me ask you this: why do you live for that though? Because like I understand you. For people who are like who having dreams and want to get to that level, like I already know when you can really process both worlds. And when I say both worlds, this is my opinion. Like I know there's multiple dimensions, multiple the universe is everywhere. But me personally, from my own experience, I feel like when I travel up, it's just one dimension up. It's not like I'm going everywhere. I'm going to the next world. Like maybe it's where I'm
yeah,
going after this or where I came from.
exactly.
It's not like I can go like I'm going anywhere. Some people can. For me, it's where I want to be in my next world in a sense.
Yeah.
And like, oh, where am I going with it? What were you just saying? Because I was gonna ask you a question. Like, they're parallel. Like, what do you like? How would you explain where you're going? Because like when you come back, you enjoy being there because it's so pleasurable. You creating in there. Like at least that's my view. I create when I'm there. You know.
Yeah, for me, well, honestly, it all started. My worst enemy was fear. When I was younger, I was afraid of the dark, but I was always doing things in the dark and going to the store for my grandmother. I grew up with my grandmother in South America, and growing up in South America, you had to do a lot of things. We grew up in the farm life where honestly I carried water to shower myself. I had to carry my own water to bathe. I had to do certain things. I had to like literally just farm life, pick food, this, that, hung out outside all day, pick mangoes from the trees, guavas, you name it, all sorts of fruits grow there. When I was 12 years old, I moved to the US with my mother, and every night I had this dream, and it was a repetitive dream. Like I'm talking, this dream, I had insomnia because this dream. I would stay up all night and watch TV. I kept my TV on and my light on every night. And this dream was as soon as I fall asleep, I'd be over water, and I'd just be going and going and going, and then I'd be in South America where I'm from.
Nice.
And I'd be doing all these things, like going all these places all at once. And then when it's time to go back, I couldn't go back. I'd be stuck right at the waterfront, and I'd start to panic. Like I'd literally, like, I remember one dream, I was literally and it's so scarring sometimes because your mentality remembers it like it's real life, like it's happening in real life. And I remember being on my knees screaming like, what did I do? How? Like, why can't I go back? Like, what the happen? And then I just wake up all in sweats. It'd be like 2-3 o'clock in the morning. I'd be sitting there, and I was in high school at the time, and I just watch TV all night until the morning time. Then I go to school, and I'd be falling asleep in class sometimes and shit. And this would happen over and over and over, and I didn't know what was going on. And I remember also when I was in South America as a kid, I had one specific dream that I remember, and this dream was like, where I live, there's a bridge, and this bridge connects us to the main town. And I'm from a place called in Guyana, Berbice Kanji. It's right above Brazil. And this bridge, it connects us to the main part. And I had a dream that one night I woke up and it was like blood red outside. Like it was just red. Like I'm talking like blood red. And I'm walking around and everyone's like acting like everything's fine, everything's good. And I went under that bridge and there's this door, and I opened this door and there's all these things there. And there's like a comb, there's like this brush, there's all these different like bracelets and all that. And I picked something up. And when I picked whatever up and I walked out the room, I could see in the dark. Like I could see through the dark. And I remember this dream because every time like someone would ask me like I remember my grandmother and my mom, like in South America, they cook pumpkin sometimes, and it's for your vision. If you eat that with rice and stuff, it helps you see. It makes your eyes bright. That's what they used to tell you as a kid. But I always put that together. But whenever I dreamt, I always remember stuff like that because once I got older and I started to understand, those were the things I remembered when I started to look in my mind. And when I'm like, okay, I live for this type of stuff because once I figured that out, I'm like, all right, the meditation came in. Then the whole sleep, lucid dreaming thing came in. And those work hand in hand together,
100%.
you know? Because
You can
when,
lucid dream through meditating. Do you agree with that? I
yeah,
feel like it's
honestly,
different because you're not sleeping, but it's
it is.
I go to
It
the same
is.
place in a sense. A little bit
Yeah,
more
honestly,
conscious than when I'm meditating versus sleeping, but because you're not in
I
that
feel like
REM state.
meditation is the controlled version of it.
Yes,
Because,
yes,
you're more alert in a
yeah,
sense.
and you can
And
stop
sleep.
right away in meditation. Like, oh, I'm done.
Exactly,
Yeah,
exactly. And your mind is a place where, imagine what we pack in our minds. And I tell people, like, even a lot of people that do psychedelics, a lot of people that do any type of anything, psychedelics, smoke a little bit of weed, smoke heavy, all that stuff, that anything that have to do with the cerebral. What you're doing is you're making yourself susceptible to things. Imagine everything you've ever seen in your life imprinted on your mind or your brain.
right,
So when you lucid dream or you go into certain states and you see certain things that scare you, you're standoffish or you're back off immediately. Like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to see it. I don't want to learn about it, because you think that either substance or that weed or that outside of yourself is doing it to you, but really it's coming from inside. It's all the
right,
things you watched from a kid, all this horror movies, all the crazy stuff, all the things that you indulged in that you didn't even know you were indulging in. And all of a sudden you're now reflecting on yourself and wonder why you're dreaming of like demons and shit. And you're like, hold on.
right,
Exactly. Like, where's it come from? I know where it's coming from. Like, I
right.
remember as a kid, I used to have this one reoccurring nightmare. And it was like Chucky, you know that movie Chucky
Yep,
with the
yep.
little doll? I remember I watched that as a kid in South America. And I used to have this dream, right? And this is where my dreams used to scare me so bad. I dreamt like I was sitting, like my grandmother had this couch with a specific plaid like covering on it. And I watched the movie on that couch. Now, in my dream, it's like I could see from underneath the couch, like, you know how they do the visual in there from like Chucky's eyes?
Yeah.
And literally in my dream, it's like I could see through Chucky's eyes
Oh
and
yeah.
my legs are hanging off the couch. And I wake up laying on the couch with my legs hanging off the couch. And dude, I swear, that scared the hell. No, dude, no more Chucky movies, dude. I was over the edge. And this lasted for years in my life when I was younger. But people don't understand what they're doing to their mind. We're punishing our minds every day with this type of stuff.
Yeah.
And once we lay down to sleep, we think that, a lot of people don't understand. When you go home and you get away from your job, you get away from all your friends, you shed all of that kind of the character you play in this world. That's where it goes back to what you were saying about this reality being like the second reality to our actual reality.
Right.
Because every day you get
This is
up.
our acting job, essentially.
Exactly. Like when you go out to, like, when you leave your house, you're not saying I'm gonna go be fake to everyone or anything, but you're in a character. You're literally in a character in a world where you're like, all right, this is who people know me as. This is what I am to people and all this. But when you go home, you shed all that. Your inner thought starts to shed layers.
Mm-hmm.
And when your inner thought to shed layers, think about what most people do. They'll drown themselves in some alcohol.
They
They'll
ignore it.
pop a few pills, anything to push it away,
Yep.
anything, until they're on that deathbed. Think about
Yes.
that.
100%.
And pushing it away will bring them to their deathbed faster than
Stress and
confronting the issue.
anxiety. Yep.
Yep. And
The
lucid
number one
dreaming, I
cause
think,
of the number one cause of illness is stress and inflammation.
exactly.
100%. Any illness.
Mm-hmm.
Our
And
bodies
honestly,
don't,
I
our
think
bodies don't like being stressed out. They like to be
exactly.
perfectly going with the flow. I'm going way off topic. Like, even people who do construction work. I used to do construction work. That is
Yep.
like, it's beautiful because you're building for the world. We need it, but you're also putting the max amount of stress on your body. Or somebody who sits in a
Exactly.
financial office for like a huge bank all day, numbers, not like that's the same stress in a different way, and it just destroys you in a sense. Like,
Exactly. It's
you can't
strenuous for
process what
the
you need to
mind.
process. Yeah.
Uh-huh. And a lot of people don't get it because they don't believe. Think about it. The average people, like, last night I was talking to, what's the guy's name that we talk to usually? He was on another podcast, your cousin, I think.
John?
With the glasses.
John
John, yeah. So I was speaking to John, and he asked me a question last night, and I meditated on it. I thought about it, and he was talking about background people. Now, even in dreams, you always see people in the background, but you never know who they are.
I love
Like
this.
literally, like you'll see one or two people you know, but you'll be in a room full of people. Think about this. Every time in your dream, do you know who those people are? Like,
No, let me give
think
you.
about
This is
it.
my thoughts on it. You're gonna help me with this because I didn't even know he asked you that, and I bet you gave a great answer because when I think about that, I have seen people I've met or know, and then sometimes it's people you connect with later if you can recall them and remember them. But
Yeah,
most of the time, it's not. I agree with you. Just like who's that guy? And I always thought it was just
yeah.
somebody else in the same space at their dream. Like we just happened
Well,
to come
see, I
together.
think about it. I think about it just like real life, like here too. It's like, all right, imagine going to the mall, right? And
Yep.
imagine you went to the mall every single day for a whole year, and you saw a guy there, and every time you see him, he's stocking the same shelf.
Yeah.
Every time you see him, every time you pass by, it's the same place, same shelf, same time, every time. And then you start to wonder, who is this guy? And you think to yourself, does he have a home life, all this? And some people say, of course he has a home life and all that. But now, intellectual people, deep in thought people, when you see people like that, your thought, yeah, it could be, is this a real person? Now you're thinking in the sense of real person as if I walk up to someone and I say to them, hey, how you doing? It's the same automatic answer. Hey, how are you? Blah, blah, this, da, da, da. Once you have that
Oh, you froze up
conversation,
on
now
me,
where the
brother.
conversation leads of, as soon as you said, hey, how are you? And all that, and the conversation's dry, they have nothing else to talk about except for anything mainstream. Sports, this, that. Like I'm talking, you know how it goes.
Yeah, yeah,
It'll
yeah.
be it'll be
It's
the
been snowing like
dangest
crazy lately.
conversation you've ever had in your life.
Yep. Yep.
Exactly. And then you
Just
sit
trying to get
and
the
you question
conversation to
yourself,
go.
what did I gain? What did I gain from speaking to this person? Not that you should have to gain anything, but was that exchange valuable or not even like what was the purpose? The purpose was just to say hi, all this. But what if you went to that person, you try to speak to them and say, hey, do you know this about elevation or trying to elevate your mind or maybe even lucid dreaming or this and this and that? And 9 times out of 10, they'll be like, what? Well,
Yep.
I don't know. No, I've never looked into it. Like it'll never, like almost never be a thing for some people. And I
Yeah.
noticed that from trial and error over and over. And people be like, what do you look at me like I have 4 heads? And I'm like,
Yep.
well, if this is proven by real scientists, you wait till someone's on a TV to tell you you can do certain things.
Yeah.
When someone talks to you about it, all you want to talk about is the next pop and this, the next pop and that.
Yep.
And at the end of the day, if the world was to go to shit right now, every building knocked down, all of that, I myself could rebuild the world by looking at the pyramids.
Yeah.
Just by looking at them, making eye contact. Because the pyramids is the perfect structure. Fibonacci spiral, golden means ratio. It aligns with the Orion's belt, which is
Yep.
astrology, teaches you astrology, all of that just from
All
looking at it.
religions based off astrology too and mythology, which is insane.
Yep, yep.
And most people will
Absolutely
still
right.
deny that to this day. They'll be hardcore believers in
Listen,
one of them and say, no way. It's like, dude, yes
it
way. Go look.
it's like I tell people, as above, so below, as it is in heaven, as it is on earth. We
Easy.
mirror the
Yep.
heavens,
Yeah. Yep.
and people
Yep.
don't want to believe it, but listen, we are literally made of star stuff. People could go
100%.
look it up today. We are literally made of star stuff, metals, rock, all these things are in
Everything that
us.
makes the world around us makes us 100%. Just
Exactly.
different
We are
vibration,
literally,
different frequency, different combination.
yep, exactly. And think about it. If that's true, that's what I use. All right. When I go into my, even like the lucid dreaming, when I go into it, my first thought is I merge with everything. I'm one with everything. Meaning when I'll feel myself kind of sink into the bed in a way, kind of like let go of all like muscle feeling and all that. And once you let go of that freedom, your mind, sometimes to me, the hardest thing to do is think of a place to go that I want to go to. I've been to
Same.
so many places, but think about it. There's no place you can go when your mind can literally create. Some people don't know how to create. That's why
Right.
today the world is dried up of imagination. People can't lucid dream because they simply cannot think.
They don't believe
They
they
look
can.
for the
They don't
next
believe they
person to
can.
think
Oh, I can
for
put
them.
myself in
Exactly.
Egypt. Yeah, you can put yourself in Egypt, and you will feel
Yeah,
yourself in Egypt.
exactly.
Like
You
100%.
know,
You know.
it's because they don't have the mind power for it. Someone told them they didn't have it. So guess what? Think about depression. Think about all that type of stuff. Depression. What is depression really? Think about
I
what depression
my answer
really
is
is.
it's a bunch of stress and inflammation that builds up and it's trying to fight its way out of you, and you're fighting it with the mind, and you let the mind get control,
Exactly.
and you let it
You're
eat at
trying
you,
to change it.
trying to
And,
change
and
it.
once
Yes.
once you're fighting, think about it. You're having a fight within yourself. So you're fighting within yourself. You don't have time to do simple things like meditate or lucid dream when you're constantly battling in your head,
Right.
and not even battling, you're lacking sleep because you're trying to cope with this. You're trying to get up at
Yeah.
this time. You're trying to do all this. The life has got you by the balls.
When you're too
So you
busy,
don't know
that's the
what to
biggest
do.
causer too.
And
Unless it's
instead of
good busy.
exactly. Unless it's good busy. Think about it. What lately today people are like, oh, I'm busy doing this, and it's literally them not doing anything at all, not even trying to elevate, but finding the comfort. That's the biggest problem now these days. When people get into such a comfort that they're like, this is it for me, man. I'm good. Life is good.
Yep.
What are you doing? Working at McDonald's, making like $10 an hour, and that's good for me because I can just get by, breathe. And then you look at that and you're like,
Are
man,
you
I gotta
happy
climb
inside?
mountains, bro.
Yeah.
I gotta, the ambition gotta be, I gotta climb mountains, man. I gotta hurdle mountains. I gotta fucking, build a fucking whatever. I gotta do something because
That's what you
in
were sent
today's
here
life,
for.
you don't like me. I got kids. Exactly. I got kids. And when I get old and my kids look at me and look at the things I've done in my life, I want my kids to know that I didn't just do for them, I did for anyone I could beyond that, beyond
Right.
the spectrum of thought, and even those things free you to be able to be free of thought. Even like me, I call myself a daydreamer. I dream with my eyes open. When I go to work, I tell my wife this every day. When I go to work, I get up, I think about my dreams. I talk about them with my wife. We talk about it. We talk about all the things that we want. Law of attraction. We manifest from
Love
the
it.
moment the sun rises. We're up with the sun. The sun rises and sets on my shoulders. And people do not understand the same because as soon as the sun's up, I rise with the sun. And I'm thinking, and my mind is going and going. When I'm leaving, so I get in my car, I pray. First thing I do, I pray that God forgives me for my sins that I know and don't know about. I always pray. Once I finish praying, I speak to my wife, and then I get into my mental. And my mental, before, it's an hour ride for me into work. So
Nice.
my mental, I immediately make myself enormous. Like not in the size, not in like weight, but colossal. A feel, joy, energy,
Hmm.
big, like expand, like with my thought. I
Brother,
expand
can you touch on
enormously.
that more when you say, because this is big for me, and it's big for me because there's people who fight depression and anxiety like hardcore, and they're like, I can't feel like that. I can't. When you said like I make myself, that really hit
Yeah,
me because me too. Like you, and I hate the word fake it till you make it, but in the beginning of changing who you are and what you want, you have to fake it until it's reality again. Like
bring
you
it
have to
into
tell yourself, I'm
existence.
happy. I want to be happy. I'm feeling good. Like you could be having the shitty. And I from examples,
Exact
even
on
this
the
day.
rainiest days, man.
Yeah, make
On the
yourself happy. Tell yourself
cloudiest.
you're happy.
Yep. Think about this. Even when it's cloudy, even when it's rainy, even when you can't see the sun is still there.
Yes,
Even when it's raining, I can still feel the sun.
100%.
So on those days, my mind, I think of myself outside of my shell. I'm flying with the wind. I'm one with the trees. I'm over the ocean. I'm everything all at once. And once you get that feeling, how could you feel sad? I give
Right.
sacrifices of joy to the Most High every day.
Exactly.
And it's something that I'm happy for me. I'm happy for everyone around me. I try to spread joy when I go into work. On the saddest, on the best days, every day I pray. Worst days, sad days, best days, doesn't matter. And those types of things kind of help me get through anything I need to get through. So really,
100%.
when we come back to the question of why I love this, why I love lucid dreaming and all that, because imagine actual freedom. What actual freedom would feel like.
That's the best explanation
Not
I've
being
ever heard.
bounded.
That is the best explanation I've ever heard of what it is.
Actual
freedom. That's what it is. It's your world. It is what you want to be, what you want. Dude, that's literally like I don't look at heaven and hell like most people do. I look at that as heaven. That's you come and you have a good soul, you have a good heart, come here and do things. Do whatever you want. Go where you want. Have what you want.
Other day,
I know where you're going to, how we create with our own frequencies. You create with. Are we on the same wavelength? Is that where you're going? How we were talking about in the future, we're all going to just create by knowing the frequency to something we want? Is that where you're going with this, or am I overreading?
Yep. Yep, literally.
It's true.
We're talking about that, and honestly, that's what it is.
It is, and that's what a lot of people won't be able to grasp. And when I talk to God and when I meditate, I get this. That is the future world for everyone, whether you're good or bad. That is the next level of life. So, like, if you really are a piece of shit in your heart, everyone's gonna know in the future. Like, we are all gonna know who's what. If you are somebody who hides a lot of things inside about yourself, that's fine. Sooner or later, the whole world's gonna know. So when you start to get into that dimension, I would say, I feel like it's hard to hide what you are, if that makes sense. I think I might have lost you, brother. Are you still there? Oh, his microphone shut off. Hold up. Let me know when you're back. There you are. Hold on. I can't hear you, though. Can you hear me? We're still on, guys. We're still on.
Well, I lost you for a minute. There you are.
There you are.
Yeah, it went out for a second.
That's all right. These good old Zoom. Hey, I like to tell people when this happens, not a big deal, but people, if you have children, they're doing school at home, this is just a Zoom issue. This isn't the podcast. Don't hate on us. It's Zoom. It's can't control when it glitches in and out right now. Everyone wants to use it in the world. But yeah, bro, that's huge. What I want to do, let's go over to REM sleep. And the reason I say REM sleep, because that's essentially when we're dreaming for the science, what they say, when you get into REM. And from what I've learned from my research is there's usually like 4 to 6 different REM cycles while you sleep. And the most advanced REM cycle where you go into dream world, they say is usually 4 to 6 hours after you fall asleep. So for the people who get 4, 5, 6, 7 hours, you're not going to have an easy time lucid dreaming. So
exactly.
And I want to touch on a tip that is my favorite thing now. And the more I research it, the more it makes sense. And it's something I like to do. And I haven't really did it consistently. I just did it naturally. Like I'd wake up early, look at my alarm clock and be like, not yet. And I'd go back to sleep. And that's when I talked about this to you like a while back, to the point where the blank canvas, when you shut your eyes, just the blackness, it goes darker. And then instantly I'm back there. And I was like, whoa, that was quick. And I realized practicing it, it's every time. And I was doing research on that to like try to understand what was happening to me more. And what do you know? Research in lucid dreaming that's what they say is a great way to lucid dream. So if you're somebody who struggles to figure out how to do this and you want to get into the dream world, my best tip is set an alarm 4 to 5 hours after you fall asleep. And it sounds crazy. Get 4 hours of sleep. Wake yourself up. Sit up. Don't like wake up and do things. Sit up for a minute. Take some breaths. Look around. Know you're awake. Make sure your brain knows you're awake. Then decide, I'm going back to bed. Go back to bed. That's going to be the easiest point for you to enter into that dream world. You might not be able to lucid dream right away, but if you set that intention when you wake up 4 hours later. Yeah, if you set that intention right when you wake up after 4 or 5 hours, and you say, all right, I'm going to go back to bed now. I want to lucid dream. I want to know I'm in a dream. Literally, that's like tell yourself what you're going to do. I want to know I'm dreaming. I'm going to focus on dreaming. All right, I'm going back to sleep. And your body is still going to be so tired that it's going to want to go back to sleep because you're not supposed to be up yet. And it's going to be like, no, let's go back to bed. So it's not like you're going to fight to go back to sleep. So people might question like, well, what if I woke up 4 hours later, I can't go back to sleep? Just try it. You might blow your own mind. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, what are your thoughts on that? Do you ever have that? Do you ever go through that process yourself where you
Yeah,
start?
I go through it quite a bit because sometimes I'll wake up and honestly, me and my wife, we've just had a baby like a month ago. And when the baby
Congrats.
wakes up, I'll wake up and it'll be like 3 o'clock sometimes, and I'll go back to sleep. But it's like your mind can already tell that you're going in that dream state because everything around me
Yep.
will look kind of like it's kind of fading in and out. And then when I close my eyes, as soon
Boom.
as that
Yeah.
darkness hits, it's like I'm dreaming already before I'm really like asleep, or
Before
my
you're asleep.
conscious
Yep.
is either, and I don't know what, if your conscious goes somewhere when you black out completely, when it's blank, like if your conscious just goes into that other reality of you, the other life of you, and you're there. Because think about it, when you go to sleep, you're somewhere else for the
Yep.
same amount of time that you're awake most of the times. So you're supposed to get 8 hours of sleep as you get 8 hours of work and a couple hours like of to shower, eat, whatever. That's even how school goes.
Yep.
So what happens within like those 8 hours? You go to this place, you wake up, you do not want to get out of bed, you do not want to go back to this reality because that was so sweet. Whatever little bit of whatever you had, wherever you just went, like I'll have some dreams that I'm like, oh my god, that dream was so good, and it
Yep.
won't even be anything so crazy. It would just be a dream of me doing, like, I remember having this dream and it was so vivid, and it was while I was going through my spiritual awakening. And this dream was, I was in this place, and honestly, I spoke to my grandmother about that too. And I was in this place, and I'm in this dream. I knew I was running from something, and it was me and my girl, me and my wife, and we're running. And dude, I woke up every day for I don't know how long, but like for a week or a week and a half, 2 weeks, talking about getting this house. And I remember waking up one day, and I'm like, I had this crazy vivid dream that like we're going through this like yard space, and there's like stadiums in this yard, and there's people in there, and I'm walking through, and I have a suitcase, and my girl has a suitcase, and we're walking into this huge house. And as we're walking into this house, we're like being walked from downstairs to upstairs, and all the way up, there's like these cathedral like stairs. And we're like going up and we're walking. I'm like, holy crap. And the guy's like, this is your house now. And I'm like, all right. And all these things are going on in the house. And I'm scared to go to the basement because something's going on in the basement. Like, and something meaning like nothing normal, not normal scary, like there's something down there.
Right.
So after like I'm having a repetitive dream, and this is happening night after night, like I'm talking without break in between. And all of a sudden I dream one day that I get outside the house and I'm trying to leave, and me and my girl, we get in this car and we're driving, and it's like we're driving like where I lived in South America. It's like I'm driving from South America to the US to here to there, and I'm jumping through wherever I'm going. And I end up at this place, and it's like it looks like a facility. That's what I want to call it. And it's literally like there's a gas station there. Like you ever watch those old movies and there's like a desert with just a gas station, like a
Yeah.
water
Texas
tower
Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
yeah. And I'm there, and I try to go into the gas station to get some gas, and someone like recognizes me, and I'm being chased, and I'm like, what the fuck's going on? Then I like it flashes, and I'm in this office building, and I'm running through this office building being chased, and when I look down, I'm in a robe. I'm in like a clinical robe, and I look over, and my wife's in a clinical robe. And then I'm like, it flashes to me being in this room. And this dream is like within like a week, just every day.
Damn.
And like I'm in this room and there's people in the room with me, and we're sitting and there's someone in there telling us, I don't know what they were saying really. All I remember is trying to get out of this place. And as like at the end of it, like I get out, I get in my car and I go, and I'm like running and I'm just driving. So then I asked, like after the dream, after a while, I'm like getting kind of like concerned, because I've only ever had like 2 or 3 repetitive dreams ever in my entire life.
Gotcha. See, I'm the same way. Once in a while, it'll be like da and stop.
Exactly. You gotta know something's wrong when that happens. So I spoke to my grandma and I'm like, what's your take on this? You're very wise, you're way past surpassed my years, and you've seen things I could only imagine. And she was like, well, it's a spiritual hospital. And I'm like, a spiritual hospital? And I'm like thinking
For
about it,
healing.
everything that's been happening at that time in my life. I'm like, holy shit. Like, and if your dreams in a way mirror this reality, or they're different reality, or whichever, it seems like that's the reality that we choose to go to or would want to be in. Because like I
Right.
said, sleep, you never wake up talking about, oh, I never want to go to sleep again, unless you have like the craziest nightmare you've ever had. Then
Right.
I don't want to go to sleep.
And that's
But
rough, but that's a healing process. Like, and you know that too. That's the hardest part. So, like,
yeah,
not to cut you off, like my mom, she dreams
yeah,
every night almost of her parents dying, and they're already dead. They've been dead since I was a kid, but she always has a dream of them dying in different ways. And I'm like, that's some deep healing that needs to happen. Something deep needs to be healed, because they're holding on to something, and they're
yeah,
coming to you and letting you know over and over and over and over again that there's something. And my mom doesn't. She just gets to the dream and she's like, oh, it's weird. That's it. She doesn't lucid dream. She just gets the message, wakes up, lives her life. And it's like, it's deep.
yeah. Because maybe she doesn't want to open to it.
Maybe, yeah. I don't know. We haven't even talked about it a lot, but it's
Yeah,
actually,
because a lot of
you just said
people
something too about how
think
the two
about it.
worlds affect each other too. I want to talk about that in a minute too. But you tell me what you're just gonna say. My bad.
Yeah, yeah. No, I was gonna say, because honestly, when you think about it, like things like
Oh, you're frozen. This Zoom connection. You back? Can you hear me?
oh,
Sorry,
there,
guys. Oh, he's back. He's back. I lost you for a minute. No video, but you're there. That's all right.
oh,
There we are. There we are. So
oh,
go back. You said I was thinking something, and then it cut off a little bit.
say,
Still a little frozen. Sorry, guys. Don't worry about the little technical difficulties. You're still getting all the content. There you are. You
oh,
connected? That's weird that that's doing that.
yep, I'm in there.
All right, cool, cool. Yeah, I missed the
Yeah,
whole
that
thing
is
you were just
weird.
saying there.
No, I was saying, so like a lot of people, they they see this and they know a lot of this stuff's going on. They just choose not to.
Okay, makes sense. That makes sense. What I was gonna
Yeah,
say
because
too,
honestly, think about it. It scares a lot of people.
and yeah, a lot of people don't want to be in the dream world if they're not getting pleasant dreams.
Exactly. You honestly, same concept. You got to think about it like the Matrix. You honestly got to think about it like the Matrix. And for people, I mean, it's hard for people that haven't seen or couldn't or can't grasp what I mean. And it's like, imagine one day, every day of your life, you wake up with the same thought process, everything. And it's like you're you're going through life, everything's good, and then one day you just notice something off. Just one day, just one particular thing off. Say you're like 40 years old, 30 years old, freaking even 20 something years old. And you start to notice this one repetitive thing that's off. And you're noticing that no matter who you tell or no matter what, no one's noticing it. Now, do you keep talking about this thing or do you just ignore it?
I think most people would ignore it at that point because no one's
Exactly.
understanding them. Yep.
Exactly. And all anyone ever wants to do is be understood.
Mm-hmm.
So the moment they're not getting understood, a lot of people just let it go, quiet it, bury it until they stop seeing it, or
Yep.
they stop hearing it, or they stop knowing it.
That's a good point.
So they shut the door before they even let anything out.
Right.
But those same people will live their life all their life asking for more.
And not listening to what's trying to be told to them
Exactly. So they'll be like,
because
"Oh,
they don't
why is
get
this
it.
happening? Why is this? Why can't I this? Why can't I that?" Whole time they're shouting out all the answers they could ever have.
Yep. And what's crazy, bro, in ancient times, I'm sure you already know this, but in ancient times, they used to look at people who were dreaming essentially as like the wisest people. They were like, oh, what did you get?
Yep.
Like, what message did you get?
Yep.
And it was like helping them build the world in a sense at the time. Because it was like, where did you get this? Where'd that come from? What did you get last night? Like, because they didn't think they could get messages.
In that time, people with knowledge, think about it. What made people kings and all that? People get it so twisted up. People think that what made people kings and queens and stuff back there was just the wealth that they had
No
or
way.
their parents, but it was their knowledges.
Mm-hmm. Who could
Most
make the
most
place better for
slaves,
everybody?
exactly, most slaves and stuff like that didn't know how to read. They didn't know how to do certain things. They were taught how to do little things to
Yeah.
help build whatever. But
Mm-hmm.
they didn't just follow these people just because they were like keeping them as slaves. Yes, they were oppressing them, but most of the time, most of those people, they didn't know how to do any better.
Right.
And I'm not sympathizing with the ancient slave owners or anything like that. I'm just saying you got to think about this. If you live in a world that's not high tech or in the place where you could even imagine it, and
Yep.
someone next to you is telling you, hey, we could do this way, and you're seeing this person have so many ideas that you can't even fathom or can't even come up with, do you shoot him down or do you help him? If
You
you have
should.
the strength, he doesn't have the strength. He has the mental. You have the strength. Put that together. Next, you're building pyramids. You're building this.
Yep.
You're literally setting beacons for the future.
Yep.
That
And
will
you
last.
learn, and then the person who's got the physical now learns from the wise. The wise might get some benefits out of the physical.
Exactly. And people don't get that because think about it. No one remains teachable. Everyone always knows everything. Think about it.
Mm-hmm.
Think you if all right now at your age you meet a 50-year-old man and you try to tell him anything.
He ain't listening. This kid's
Exactly.
30. He doesn't know. Yeah.
But why? But why?
Because
Why couldn't you?
this is a great talking point. This is going off lucid dream, but I like it. Reminds me of what I like to say to people all the time is we have a huge issue in humanity where
Yeah.
parents until the day they die are smarter than their children, and then their children complain about it, but then they do the same thing to their kids and they
Yeah.
complain about
And
it.
it's
Like
a cycle.
I know, yeah, and like I knew at what age I was more wise and intelligent than my parents. And
Yeah.
the funny thing is, my mom knows. My mom got to an age and she was like, "Oh yeah, I didn't even freaking do high school. Like you're way smarter than me." I'm like, "It ain't about
But
smart." She's like,
it's supposed to be that way.
"Right, right." But my dad can't accept it. He's like, "No way, no, no, nope." And I'm like, "Dude, I promise you, like, if we sat down and just had a wisdom, knowledge, anything, I'd
Because
smoke you."
because to them, what's knowledgeable to them is not the same thing that's knowledgeable to us. That's what
Exactly.
they think. So it's
Exactly.
like you sit there and they'll think you're talking about computer wisdom. They think you're talking about this wisdom. They think you're talking about this, but really you're talking about everything you could ever know. Not saying that I know everything or you know everything,
Right.
but because your mind is open to all these things, you're picking up more things, more strategies quicker. Your
Yep.
kids are supposed to be 10 times faster than you,
100%.
built better.
I want my kid to
So
be. I want him to teach me things, and he does it. Honestly,
exactly.
my son's 9. He'll say things at times, and I'm always aware in the moment. And he'll say things, and I don't think other parents realize this unless they. Everyone's gifted, by the way. You just got to find your gifts. My son will say things, and there'll be answers to questions I was praying on, and I'm like, whoa. And I'm like, what the hell? But to the point where I don't think most parents would connect that with their 9, 10-year-old kid because they don't expect to get the answer that they're asking a higher source from a little
Because
kid.
they won't let think about it. Like someone said something to me that was like along the lines of they had a veil placed over their eyes
Yeah.
because of things they've done either in past lives and this life. And the only way they can have those veils lifted if they truly grasp their free will. If
Yep.
they truly were like, all right, there's something up. Let me look deeper into this or this. But like think about the average person. They're not like, oh, let me pick this book up and let me check this out. Let me click on this video and see what this is actually talking about. Let me really
Exactly.
listen and try to figure out what this is about. Because
Yeah.
it's too much for them to mentally take 5 minutes for
Mm-hmm.
themselves.
Let me ask you, bro, and be honest with me. In the beginning, because this might be a really good talking point for anyone watching this right now. It's like, oh, I love what they're getting at. Like, how do they do? Why are they doing things differently than me? And let me ask you, was it a struggle in the beginning? Like for me, I'll say yes and no. At the point of, I force myself to learn something new every day. Not just I'm coachable and teachable. I am. I'm always open minded. But outside of that, I always make sure I'm seeking to learn something new. Like I might just sit down like today, when we're done, I might just get on my phone and be like, I want to learn more about neuroplasticity. And just
Yeah.
why? Because I want to. I want to learn more
Yeah.
about Greek mythology that I didn't know. Why? Because
Feed
why
your
not?
intellect.
Thank you.
Feed your
And
intellect.
but in the beginning, I'll be honest, it wasn't hard to stay consistent, but it had to be made a habit, just like everything else in life. Like I didn't every day right away start. I would do like every day for like a week or two, and then I'd be like I'd go a whole week without looking anything new up, and I'd be like, I don't know
Yeah.
everything. I'd have to check myself and be like, dude, you feel the best when you're seeking new knowledge. You literally feel the best, and you've done research
Literally.
on it. Yeah, and I've done research on it that the science behind it tells you why you feel good when you're seeking new things. And then like, why are you stopping? You don't know shit. Keep going. And once I get back on
Yep.
that path, it's an amazing feeling. Like, so what I want to ask you is, did you ever? Because like the way you said that, and I agree with you, is like, why would people not be doing that? But in the beginning, was it challenging? Like, what could you say to somebody who wants to go down this path? They want to
Yeah.
be open minded, seek
Honestly,
new things, and dig.
honestly, it was the hardest thing for me. Only reason it was the hardest thing for me is because it's hard to pull your mind away from what it's accustomed to.
Yes, the
So imagine
subconscious. It's
you're
hard to control
accustomed.
your subconscious. Is that what you're pointing out instead?
Exactly.
Yeah.
You're accustomed to watching mindless TV, listening to music about nothing, doing nothing, just doing literally the things you've seen done on TV. You're just doing because you think that's what life is because it's shown to you. So as you keep repeating this, it becomes a norm. So every weekend I could sit with my friends, drink a bunch of beers, and watch TV. I can play video games all day and night without caring about anything else. I could use my free time to literally do kind of the robotic thing in society where it's like every single household does the same thing.
Yep.
And one thing you're not realizing is that, all right, in the meanwhile everyone's doing these things, you sit back and you think to yourself, well, I sit back and think to myself, so if we're doing this every single day until we die, that's it.
Right.
That's it. There's nothing else. That's it. So you're okay with just feeding yourself bullshit intellect while watching a bunch of garbage TV,
Until
same
you
thing,
check out.
garbage food, and it's all hand in hand. And really, you're kind of like, in a way, killing yourself. And
Not in
killing
a way,
yourself.
brother. Hold on, I gotta jump in. Not in a way. There is literally science behind this. For all you listeners, that is a fact. We slowly kill ourselves, mainly by the food we eat. And
Yep.
I don't even want to get into that on this, but our thoughts, literally how we think, kills us. And if you look into the details on it, any of the viewers, when you tell yourself, if your body tells you, hey, let's get up and do something productive, that second you say, nah, not today, tomorrow, you're literally telling yourselves to kill themselves. It sounds crazy, but there's science behind this. You're literally telling your body, I don't need you to do that. Let's just sit here and do nothing. And what happens is your cells actually move around your body and start to go to other places that need it. So if you have a weak liver and you're not using your liver function right, your body will take from other places that are not being used regularly. If you're not staying in active shape, no worries. Your body's going to take stuff from over here and it's going to go help your liver heal. And that's the craziest science that I learned about this is that's exactly what it is. Your own
Yeah.
thoughts and how you feel every day slowly kill you until
Yep.
you heal from the inside. You kill
Yeah,
yourself from
and
the
I was
inside and you
gonna say
heal from the
you can
inside.
heal yourself too. You can literally think yourself better, but you have to. What it all goes on is belief.
Yeah,
You
dude, think
have
of
to
the placebo
truly
effect.
believe.
Yeah,
Yep, you
dude,
have to truly
every
believe.
medication they put out, they do a placebo effect a test, and I
Yep.
don't think. And if you look at I look at research. This is what I'm saying about the whole seeking. This is what I love about Akeem. Like people, just, and I'm going to touch on another point in a minute about seeking, but like I learned things like this because I'm curious. I'm like, wow, the percentage of how many people have the same effect, placebo style, on every drug they test, everything, and the
Yep.
fact that they have the same exact results as the people who did the test is mind blowing to me. And they still to this day tell us that medication is still one of the number one money makers in the world. When in reality, you can tell there are literally at least 30 to 50% of the people that take the same drug and don't take the real drug that have the same results. That should speak volumes. Like to me, when I learned it, like, and I dug into it deeper years ago, it spoke volumes to me. I'm like, dude, these are literally humans that have the same issue as somebody else who needs this medication, and they have the same healing aspect without the medication. Like
Yep.
that just speaks volumes to how powerful our bodies are to heal themselves. And I had to point out placebo effect because it literally just tackles right there what our minds can do without it. You think you have a medication in you, you think that medication is going to work, and you don't even have it. And they told you did.
Exactly.
It's 100% in your head. And we got John jumping on right now. He's going to jump in on the conversation. I saw him just.
Hey.
Oh, maybe not. He left. He requested to join and jumped out. That's all right. Just me and you. There was something else about what you said about. Oh, this is one other thing I want to point out, and this is for anybody who wants to start going down a journey like this of seeking new knowledge. There's times where Akeem had a perfect example. My subconscious will say, let's just be lazy tonight, play some PlayStation. I'm like, all right. And guys, this doesn't mean, this is the other thing. If you constantly fight your body and your subconscious, you're going to get to the point where you're depressed again. You're going to try to go the opposite direction. You're going to put yourself there by forcing yourself. So you want to force, but at times you want to give in. I don't know if you agree with that, Akeem, but like at times you're like, all right, tonight I'm going to sit and play PlayStation. I'm going to watch a movie. And that's okay. But when it's
Give
all the
yourself
time,
a little
you got to.
break.
Yes, a little break. Thank you. And I didn't. I was hoping
Live.
you agreed
Yeah.
with that because it's, to me, that's a huge aspect. But the reason I'm bringing it up is I have times where I want to not seek something, but then I'm like, oh, I should go do something I'm interested in, and I'll have to push myself. And I'm like, all right, I'm gonna go watch a TED talk. I'm like, and I was still in my head, and I want people to understand this. It's not me. That is the subconscious that keeps saying, really, dude, you're gonna go watch a TED talk? And I'm like, yeah. And then I start listening to it, and I'm like, no, yeah, and I do it. But there's times, not all the time, there's times I put the TED talk on and I'm all like literally sitting there listening to the subconscious, like, really, we're doing this? You really want to be doing this? This is what you're going to do for your night. Trying to get me to stop as I'm already doing it. And what I want to point out is out of nowhere, I'll hear one talking point and bang, I'm like fully happy, fully engaged. Like, oh, whoa, I need this. Like, and it's seek things you're interested in, seek things that you don't know about and try to know about it. Is that it, like anything, any topic, anything you can learn in college, you can learn without college, as crazy as it sounds, if you seek it. Whatever you want to know, you can know. You just got to seek, and you got to know how to seek and keep seeking and going and
People
find things
just
that
don't
make you
believe
happy.
themselves.
Yeah. And another thing I learned in a TED Talk, it's funny we're talking about TED Talks, is your brain, the neuroplasticity. Is like, I forget how they talked about it. That's why I mentioned neuroplasticity, because I'm going to look into that later from a TED Talk I watched the other day, where they say even as you're an adult, your brain never stops growing. Your brain, it's always based on how much you put into it. Like that alone spoke volumes to me. From neuroscientists that figured out, like, you can be 80 years old and pulling in knowledge and your brain's still growing. It doesn't stop. The reason people have Alzheimer's and the reason people's brains stop and they stop remembering things in life, and don't quote me on this, I'm not a doctor. Some people will say, no, that's natural. It's from birth. I don't agree. I think it's we stop using our brain at a seeking level. And like Akeem pointed out, we live at a, this is who I am. And then 10 years goes by. Then 20 years goes by. Then 40 years goes by. And all of a sudden, you don't even know who the hell you are anymore. And you get old. Your brain gets old and it doesn't know how to seek it. Your brain just does what it needs to do to get by. And that's why I believe people forget people. Things get challenging. Because your brain at that point just, what do I need to do to stay alive? Is like what the brains do for itself. You know? versus because you stopped using it. You stopped using the brain, literally. The brain's 100% subconscious at that point. You don't use
Yeah.
it anymore. You know? I went on a rant there. I want to get into Akeem again into the two worlds because like more research I got in the lucid dreaming was how the two worlds really connect. And like, so I want to point out to people what you're doing there or what you're doing here can connect. So a nightmare, for example, we talked about it earlier. If you're having nightmares, it's usually because of something in the 3D world that
Yeah.
when you get out there, it's trying to tell you something, you got to try to heal something.
Yeah.
Versus in the dream world, when things are pleasant and great and knowledge is coming to you, that's why you need a dream journal because you come back. And if you can bring that back with you, you have no idea what's going to happen to your life. I know
Yep.
you know, like,
Bring it into this world. Yep.
like how many times do you like? All right, help me with this. I lucid dream a lot, but there's times I can't lucid dream. But when I'm not able to do it, it's usually like a very deep message, like I needed, like almost like I didn't have a chance to lucid dream because something needed to show me something. Like, no,
So
you come and I give, you go back and remember. I'm like, all right.
what's a guaranteed? Honestly, I find that works a lot for me almost every time. So what you do is me, I wrestle my subconscious. My conscious and my subconscious fight. Basically, it's a fight of okay, it's gonna take me where it wants to take me, or I'm going to grab the control.
Gotcha.
So when you lay down, your mind has to stay awake for as long as you can possibly grasp. And how you do this is, I don't know if people sleep to tones, if people listen, or you can hear a certain sound, even if it's the wind, even rain, whatever.
Why don't you give the viewers a tip? Like I listen to beta wave frequencies. There's all different
Yep.
kinds. What do you listen to? Like what works for you so
So
people can know?
I listen to theta waves because theta
Okay.
waves like taps into like your, I'm pretty sure you're creative,
Mm-hmm.
and is that I forgot exactly what it is, but what it is it gives off these waves that literally kind of pushes you along the way. So it's like once you're hearing them, I don't even know how this is, but it's like you're seeing sound in a way.
Yeah, I get
You're
that.
all right. Imagine
You froze up on me again. Give him a second to connect. Okay. Sorry guys, technical difficulty again. Frozen. He's coming. He's
yourself as
connecting.
water.
Oh, you're back. Hey, I
And when
lost you
that
for a good minute
vibration,
there.
it's like waves and waves.
Hey, we
Oh,
lost
it's
you for a
frozen.
good minute. We lost you for a while there. It was frozen. Can you hear me? I can see you talking, but I can't hear you right now. No. Your microphone's muted. Unmute the microphone. It's showing it muted.
Oh, there it goes.
Yeah, even before that, it froze up on you again and kicked you. So I lost you. Oof. Oof. You gotta go a while. You gotta go a little back. I forget where I lost you.
Oh, I was saying, so we were talking about the theta waves.
Yes. What you listen to
And
help you get in there. Yep.
yep. And honestly, the theta waves kind of help push you along the way. But my instant thought is when you lay down, you got to remember your body's made up mostly of water. So
Oh,
when I sleep, I literally think in my head, the darkness that you see, even if you see a little bit of glare of light through your eyelids, you got to remember, be like water, still like water. And once everything is still, it's like you connect with everything around you, the earth, with the trees, with everything, and you can feel the stillness. And once you're feeling the stillness, your mind is going to want to drift off, like it's going to want to just take you wherever it wants to go. Once you close your eyes, once your brain knows you're asleep, any problems, anything you got to work out, it's immediately you're gone.
right.
But if you try to stay awake in there as long as you can, just try and try and try, you're going to start to see. And when I say start to see, let there be light in a sense.
Yep. I get that.
Yep. And then
Friendship.
once you start to see colors, that's why sometimes I say to people don't understand. I taste colors. My favorite thing is I taste colors. I can experience them on the level of anything that I've seen. I can go to.
That is your chakras being fully balanced. Is what that is essentially.
Exactly.
You're fully
And
aligned.
exactly. And once you start like doing that, like I say sometimes the hardest thing for me is figuring out where I want to go. I've been to so many places already to myself that when I think about it, I'm like, what excites me? What makes me, and it's all a feeling. That's what
Right.
connects it all. Once you have like empathy and all that, you could feel for others, you could feel for this, meaning you don't just physical feeling, it's the feeling that connects you to these places. And where I can say in my dream I was on top of the Mount Everest and I could feel the wind on my face cracking my skin or
Yep.
anything like that, because your mind knowing this, knowing basically the environment, how it is. That's why
Senses.
I tell people to read, to check places out, to check this out, because they say when you go into a coma, right? When you go into a coma, a lot of people
That's the
talk
official
about
lucid dream. I'm just kidding, but
exactly. People say they're in another place that's kind of like this world. People could look it up. I've looked it up. There are a lot of videos out there you could actually check out on it.
yep.
But they say you're in like a certain world. And the only things that exist in that world are things you can remember. And I'm not saying that this is how it is. This is my own hypothetical theory. But my hypothesis on it is it's kind of like when you die. If you die, the only things that's going to be in your afterlife are things you can remember.
Yeah.
So everyone that wants like in a way want to be memorable is gonna in a way be in the afterlife or in the dream world of everyone else.
Do you watch Disney movies?
Like sometimes when I was a kid I
Don't
used to
don't quote me on the movie. I could be wrong, but I think it's Coco. I watched with my kid a while back, and it's about the
yo
afterlife. Like,
honestly that's one of them that I wanted to watch that I didn't see. I did
well,
not get
yo,
to
the
see that
the
one.
big thing is helping their grandparents not be forgotten. Once everyone forgets them, that's when they're no longer in the afterlife. And I'm like, whoa.
See?
And what
And
you just
again,
said made me think of that.
that's exactly kind of see I gotta watch that movie now.
Yep. You got to
No,
remember.
but that's
That's
exactly
huge.
yeah, that's exactly what I'm kind of talking about. Where it's kind of like like in a weird way, it's the same thing when we're conscious. You could have a childhood friend that's your best friend, live next to door to each other. Then all of a sudden he moves away. 10 years goes by, 15 years go by, 20 years go by. You've not seen him, you've not heard him. Da da da. This is this. One day you're walking in the grocery store, and for some reason you can tell it's this kid from when you were a kid.
Yep.
Now, times out of 10, most people won't even say hi. Most people won't even bat an eye or whatever. Or if they're with their significant other, they'll be like, oh, hey, that kid, blah, blah, blah. But that person no longer exists to you. Beyond the spectrum of you seeing them that day, within the
Right.
first time you forgot them, they no longer existed to you. So,
Yep.
meaning not in a cruel way or anything, if that person died, you wouldn't know or anything.
Right.
And it wouldn't affect you at all,
Right.
because to you technically in your spectrum they no longer exist. And not saying that you want that to be, or not saying that
Of course. Of course.
that's
It's a
how it is,
human
but
tendency naturally, as sad as it
exactly.
is. Yeah.
And
Yep.
for me, I tell people all the time, like me, when I close my eyes, when I meditate, I have in my head the biggest library ever. I pull it. You gotta, for me, it took a long, long time to do the things that I do sometimes. But when I meditate, my first thought is my library. My library has my favorite music, my favorite books, my favorite things, my favorite movies, everything there. Anything I would ever need to know. And this is all in my head. And I visualize my thoughts like a big library.
Hell
I
yeah.
could call my library whenever in darkness, when I'm sitting there meditating on both planes of existence, and I could recall every and anything.
I'm the
And
same
the
way.
more I exactly, and the more
I don't
you
have a
put in
library like
there,
that. I don't look at it like I never thought of it that deep. I'm going to now, to be honest. I love what you just said. But like I can sit down with my family and like recite a whole movie from when I was like 7, and they're like, "How the
Yep.
fuck do you do that?" And I'm like, it's always there. It just never
Honestly,
goes away.
honestly, what I learned to do is because I had so many traveling thoughts firing off so many things, I learned to put them in order.
In your
So
head.
literally, whenever some people, it's so hard. People go to therapy for this, all this, just to
Yeah.
figure out how to calm the waters, how to literally make it like, okay, I don't want to think about all this. Let me grab this thought. And sometimes I still struggle about it, but all it takes is a thought. That's how it works. Just one thought, and then
Yep.
boom, it's all silent, and you're in your library. Oh, wonder about this. What about this song or this old piano symphony that I cared about or liked when I was a kid,
Yep.
or things like that. And people don't understand that because they don't give themselves the time or nothing else around. Everything's a distraction, as you
Yep.
know. The distractions come daily, everywhere, the craziest places, and
Work.
you'll think that it's just
School.
normal, but really, if something is pulling you from something you really want or a divine purpose or anything like that, you got to realize it might not be the best thing for you.
Right.
And it's hard for people to do that because in life people cling to things. They cling to especially non-physical things, like we were talking about the other day. People harm each other over material objects all the
Yeah.
time and stuff like that, and that's what kind of puts a veil over their eyes from lucid dreaming and all that. Because in it says, I forgot what chapter it was, whatever, but it says, it is as hard for a rich man to get into the gates of heaven as
Ooh.
it is for a camel to pass through the eye of a needle.
Oh.
So if you are a rich man, you can do all the things you can do. You can whatever. If you remain yourself, remain good, remain unchanged, unscathed, meaning no matter what riches you have, whatever, you will always
You are
be
who you
kind of
are.
blessed if you stay on the right path and don't literally, as soon as you get what you get, you turn immediately like, yeah, well, whatever, it's about this, it's about that, it's all about the gains, doing terrible things. Good things aren't going to happen to you.
Right.
But like, you have to be internally rich first.
Yep.
Knowledge gives you wisdom you are born with. Knowledge is gained. And people don't understand that. And the more knowledge you gain, the more internal riches you gain. And once you get that internal rich, you'll be rich. If you won't even have to ask for it, it will just come to you. Money will come in the weirdest place. Everything will come to you.
Yep.
And a lot of people kind of find it hard to believe in that. So they will do the slimiest things, the grimiest things to get all these things because they believe that it's going to bring them happiness.
Right.
But all those things, they have a hole in them that all those things will never fill. Instead of
100%.
filling it with love, light, love. Like me, I love people I don't even know.
I love
I'll
everybody. I'm with
exactly.
you.
I'll spread love. I'll smile. I'll give people a little bit of light where their darkest days. I don't know what people are going through, and at the end
Akeem,
of the day,
why? Let me ask you, why? Because I have my why. Why do you do that?
why not?
Okay, I like it.
In the world, you
You
can do every and anything.
yeah.
Why not? We
My
need
why is
sunshine.
simple. People exact, and the other thing is, if if anyone listening to this podcast can't connect with what I'm about to say, I don't know what to say to you. Not just right now in your life if you're depressed. If you're down, things are bad. Go back to any point in your life. Tell me there's not one time that somebody came into your life and brought light and love and just helped you through one situation, no matter when it was in your life, that it didn't really make a huge impact on your heart and how you feel. And in that moment, and even the moments to follow, changed your life. All of us have experienced that. The
Yep.
problem is so many people forget it. They just forget that happens. Like I am the same way as you never know when you're gonna say the right thing to somebody or just have that right. You're gonna listen to them right when they needed somebody to listen to them. You never know; it could change someone's life, literally.
Yeah.
I met a guy on a plane when I used to travel to Canada, and he was a pastor, and he sat next to me because the lady next to him was snoring too loud. I had an empty seat, and he's like, "Can I sit with you?" And I was like, "Yeah, that's fine." Most people, when I used to fly for business, I would see people like miserable, like, "No, this is open my seat. I bought a single seat on purpose." Like the dude didn't want to sit near the lady snoring. He wanted to sit with me. I'm like, "Yeah, sure." I want, and
Yeah.
he even wanted the aisle seat, and I was nice. I'm like, "Yeah, whatever. I'll take the window seat. I don't care." I moved over. Dude, one of the best conversations I ever had, and I'm still connected with the guy to this day. And I just met him on a plane. He talked. His daughter just passed away. I didn't know that. Right when I met him, his daughter just passed away. That's why he was traveling. Like the
Wow.
simplest thing in my mind at that time, and I, dude, my heart's like I can feel all my emotions in my body right now. It's the best feeling too. I know you know.
Yeah.
But like when he started talking about it, the first thing that processed through my mind was, what about these people who are that miserable that would have told him, "Nah, don't sit next to me." Nah, and this is mine. It's not a big deal. He was a black man, and when race is a big issue in the world right now. Just imagine for that one reason, because he was black, someone said no. Because they didn't want someone near them, they said no. All this guy wanted to do was open his heart because his daughter just died. I didn't know that, but he
And think
asked me, and
about
I
that.
happened to be there for him right that moment, and it was one of the best connections I've ever had. But what I thought about was the opposite. Like the person that could have just broke his heart even more than his heart was already broken for no reason. Like
Empathy.
that's a reason why for me. That's a big reason
You
why.
gotta have empathy. Your heart has to be lighter than a feather at every moment.
Yep.
Anyone that I meet, if they're going through hard times, I remember when I lived in Nashua, we used to go to the store, and me and my wife, we'd walk to the store at the time, and we'd order food. We'd do this, and it was one of those little bodega stores that makes food and stuff like that. And every time we go there, there'd be this lady standing outside, and people would just be mean to her, and they wouldn't let her in the store and all that. And I remember every time I went, if I had a little extra money, I'd give it to her, or I'd take her in the store, or my wife, buy her some eggs, bread, whatever she needed. And it wasn't about giving this woman anything. Even when I see people on the side of the road begging, people like, "Oh, don't give them money. They're going to buy this. They're going to buy that." I don't care. I'll
Yep.
give them whatever. Only because to me,
Sharing
being
some
a
love.
human, being human is way more, means way more to me than the $5, than the $1, than the $2. It means way more to me than to just be human. Because
Yep.
for me, I remember then having, I used to like I spoke on it last time. I remember when my first kid was born, I didn't have a car. There was times where I had to walk to work from Merrimack, New Hampshire to Nashua, New Hampshire, back and forth, ride a bicycle in the snow, did all
Yep.
that. And it taught me a lot of lessons that a lot of things didn't teach me. I remember going to work without any money to buy lunch. I used to ask God all the time, why me?
Mm-hmm. Hey, you're freezing up, but this is gonna be good, so I want to hear it. Hold on, because I like where this is going. Give us 1 second, guys. Technical difficulty here.
But
Hold
immediately
on, hey
I always
brother.
had an answer.
I
But
I lost you
now
again.
where
I
I am
lost
in
you
my
again,
head, every time I asked him, he would say, and I sit there and it hits me every time. And I'm like,
brother. Man,
if this is what the battle
we lost you for a while there again. That when you started talking right about God, when you said why me, and I don't want to miss
yeah.
that because that was big, and we lost you there until right now.
So
So it froze up again. I need to hear that, and I even said to the
so
community, I'm like, we lost him, but I'm asking him because I need to hear that because I went through a very
yeah.
similar things in my life, and I can't wait to hear what you say about it.
Yeah, so well, once all this was going on, I remember being hungry, having no money, asking God why. Like I'm talking why, and every time He gave me an answer right away, and I didn't want to accept it at the time, but every single time it was the same answer, and it was like I give my hardest battles and my struggles to my greatest warriors, and you know this,
Yep.
and every time, and I can't lie about this, and I cannot exaggerate this. I can't anything. Every time I've asked him for anything, he's given it to me.
Because
Every
you
single time,
deserve it.
without question,
Because you deserve it.
and people don't understand how. People will ask for all these things, but they don't understand. They're asking for things that he has no kind of control over,
Right.
man-made things.
Yep.
I ask him for things that he can help, and I help myself, so he helps. But at the same time, he gives you these battles because if you can show people around you that it's possible, it might save someone's life. You don't even know. It might save someone's
100%.
life. You
Bro,
know?
I'm going through a huge battle right now that I might have told you a little bit. Like I'm not even gonna get it all out on the podcast. And it isn't a pride or an ego thing. It's I understand my battles. Right now, I'll
Yeah.
keep it simple. I'm close to facing eviction. I'm about to lose my car. My cell phone shut off right now, so I only got Zoom stuff. I can't even call people. People will sound like, wow, this guy's a bum. I'm on unemployment. I've never been on unemployment my entire life. And you know why? Because 2 years ago, I stopped all this corporate shit of making six figures and wanted to live my purpose. And to this
Yeah.
point, my family, other people still don't get what's happening. And I do. And it's hard at times to accept, but it's a simple fact of we're in one of the darkest times our country's ever seen. Suicide rates are high as they ever been. People need people like us. And it's like he wants to, and it doesn't make sense to a lot of people, but he's bringing me down. He's letting me bring myself down so I can show people it's never going to break me because I love him. I love people. I'm fine. I can get through anything. I already have. I've done the homeless when I was younger. You, what you just said is on point. That's exactly what it is. And it's people say it all the time. It's like a joke or like a meme. Like the toughest people get the bravest souls get the hardest battle. It's so true because there's
Yeah.
weak souls out here that can't handle life. The simplest things. Their car will break down. The world's over. And it's like, dude, your
Yeah.
car broke down. There's people who never had a car. That's their own fault.
Yeah.
Still, calm down. Like we can fix this. Ask me for a ride. You're gonna give me a ride every day. If I can, yeah. And it's like, oh, all right. And then all of a sudden things start making you're like, oh, it's not that bad. It's like you never know. And a big thing that you said is like you ask and he gives you because it comes from the heart. And I can tell just from the short term I've known you, when you have a good heart and you're always doing for others, and like you said, the lady, you'll help her. You'll help the people when you need to.
Yeah.
You deserve.
Whenever.
So when you ask God, He's gonna help you because He doesn't need you to. You'll suffer in different ways by the choices you make, and I get that too. We both get that.
Yeah.
But He doesn't want you to suffer. He's gonna be there for you every chance He can be there for you.
Exactly. Always. And
And He'll
honestly,
remind
that's
you.
one thing. And after, I'm not even gonna lie, once I started receiving blessings on blessings, like even my wife will tell you, it's like I started asking, why me though? Like I remember all these things happening to me. And I asked you why then. And that I got my answer. And then now I'm asking, why does it feel like I'm so blessed? Everywhere I go, everyone I talk to, everything I do, everything I put my hands on, everything I put my
Because you
intentions
are.
on, it feels like everything just goes right. Everything goes well. And it feels like I'm never hungry for anything. Yeah, I'm hungry for greatness, whatever, but I feel so just full. I
Yeah.
feel like everything that I could ever want is coming my way, and I don't have to really stress. And
Right.
it all goes in believing. And I
Mm-hmm.
believe to my core that everything that I set out to get in this life, I'm gonna get, but without conviction. I do not
Right.
want to be tried as wanting.
Right.
I want to live simply. I want to speak life everywhere I go. I want everyone I meet, I want them not to forget me, not in the way of being egotistical, but in the way of whenever they need any type of thought that could settle the 1,000,001 demons at their door, they'll remember me.
The
Or they'll
hardest part
remember
about that,
something.
Akeem, is that we both just shared good things and both just said not trying to be egotistical. That's another sad thing in the reality of the world we live in. That at times we feel like we have to say that,
You have
and it's
to.
but we're not egotistical, and that's the thing that hurts me more. And it's only because of the reality we live in that you have to point that out because it's not ego. You're
You can't
living
put it
in a
this way.
great way.
You can't tell someone something that they don't know without them thinking that you're
Right.
trying to be better than them.
Exactly. And that's the
Think about
saddest part about reality
it.
to me, at least.
It's ignorance. It's
Yeah.
ignorance of the highest order.
Yep.
And
Yep.
honestly, you see it every day. You'll walk into a room with people and you'll see it across their face. You'll see it. They'll say something and you'll understand. And you'll always ask yourself, why be like this when I feel like the world would be better? But honestly, why do you think people like us aren't out on TV or out on the streets shouting at the top of our voice about this? Because ignorance will probably kill people like me and you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just for being us.
For not getting it. Yeah. For not getting it and seeing it as wrong. Yeah.
Exactly.
100%. And
Because it's fair. fear of what they don't know. People always fear what they don't understand.
Yeah, 100%.
Really back to, you know,
100%.
it's a sad reality that we live in, but me and you can manifest a better reality, but in a world filled with a bunch of basically gods and half-wits walking
Yes.
around, manifesting like children, like grown children, manifesting this, manifesting that, boom, 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 not even realizing what they're manifesting. You're sitting there asking yourself, when are they going to realize? But that's the thing. Ever, some of them never realize, and they come right back to
Exactly.
do it again. Boom, boom, boom,
100%.
boom.
I love how you said coming back to do it again too, and that could go on for. We could talk about that forever, but.
Yeah.
Oh man, but no,
No,
yeah, and something else you said earlier when you with the whole thing that you brought up, like not being egotistical, but on top of that, something for me, my main thing is so like you said, I want to be remembered for spreading love, doing the
yep.
right things. For me, I tell my son, I tell everyone before I die, whenever my time is, years, 100 years from now, who knows? When my time comes, all I want to be remembered for is wow, that guy Alex, look at what he did to help bring world peace. Like I just want to see world peace before I die. People are like that's insane. Maybe 200 years from now, and I'm like that's your mindset. Leave me alone. Like this is
Right.
happening. This is happening in my lifetime. And like that's my biggest accomplishment is if I want to be not the guy who made world peace, obviously it's going to take everyone, but I want to be an influencer in it. That's a huge part of my main mission as who I am on this earth. Before I die, I want to be known for that. Like, wow, that man brought this many people together with this and that, and the world is literally peaceful now. Versus, hey, this world's such a like. There's elderly people right now, and I feel bad for them because like there's literally elderly people right now who are sitting at home. Oh my God, I didn't even tell you. Mike knows about it. I posted a stats about it. I was out to eat lunch like 3 weeks ago, maybe 4 weeks ago. Bro,
Yeah.
and this is good for the podcast too, because it goes right to what I'm saying. An old man walks in, walks right by me, walks right by the other people sitting in the restaurant, sits in the back, doesn't order food. At first, I questioned it. Like the food where you order is upstairs in this place. The seating's downstairs. So I'm like, does he
Yeah.
not know where to order? So I'm like, maybe I should tell him. And then my intuition right away was like, mind your business. He knows what he's doing. And I was like, all right. And I just kept eating my food. Dude, like 15 minutes, 20 minutes goes by. He still didn't go upstairs to order his food. So I'm like, what is
Huh.
this guy doing? But he's in my head. I don't know why he's in my head, but I'm like, what's he doing? No lie. Right when I finished eating, tell me the divine timing couldn't have been better. The second I'm done eating, he comes over and taps me on my shoulder. Mind you, he walked by 4 or 5 other people to get to me. And I can't remember the exact message now, but I posted a status, but it was something so deep. He said something like, you need to bring peace. Dude, I started crying. I was like, what? And he's like, you and your generation need to bring peace. He's like, I can't believe what I'm watching. He's like, I'm going to die soon. He's like, and this is where we live. He's like, this is the reality of the world before I die. And I was like, dude, it was hitting my heart so hard. So I'm like, this world peace mission has been since for years now. I've wanted this. And it's like, wow, this dude's literally relaying what I want my message to be, like how he's hurting that he's like, look how dark this place is. I'm scared. He even said I'm scared. He was like 85. I'm like, what are you
Cared
afraid
for the
of?
world.
It hurt me, dude. It hurt me. I'm like, he's afraid of like what's gonna happen. And he's like, the presidents are both bad. I'm scared. He's like, I'm scared for the grandkids, all this. And I was like, wow, man. And that just made my purpose so much more deeper to me. Because I was like, this poor guy knows he's getting close to the end of his time. And all he's thinking is how shitty the earth was when his time was over. He even brought up racism. He's like, when I grew up, he's like, people couldn't use the same bathrooms and stuff. He's like, I thought it was done. I thought it was gone. He's like, and now I see it. It's so bad again. It's so bad again. And he's like,
Yeah.
and I'm going to be dying soon. He's like, what does that mean for my grandkids? Is it going to be like it was when I was a kid? And I'm like, no, man. I'm like, it's never going back to that. We won't allow it. I'm like, they might try to bring the world back to that. We're not allowing that. There's enough people
Exactly.
in this world that will not allow that. It's not happening again. And it just hit my heart, bro. Hearing like the words he said and how he started, like, you need to bring I and your generation. I started crying. I didn't know what to do. I was like, what? And then he just left. He never got food. I can't even process it still. He just left. And I was like, what the fuck just happened? And I knew it happened though. God sent somebody to talk to me right then and there. And it was just unbelievable. It was an
Everywhere.
unbelievable feeling, bro.
He's everywhere always. And
Yeah.
it's like, certain times, like I have these photos that I got on my phone. And I honestly, when I first started music, I used one of the photos, and it's of it's these I'll send them to you later. But there's these photos. I got it off a job. I work in mitigation, restoration, fire, water, all that stuff. So if like basically a fire happens at your house, pipes break, all that,
I
I'm the
got you.
guy that they send in to rip your walls out, do all that stuff. So honestly, when all this stuff is going on, I'm realizing my awakening, all of that. One day I go to a house and I'm at this house by myself, this huge house right on the lake, nice house. I'm over there by myself and I'm just doing work on this house. So I go to this house and this kid shows up, this guy shows up. I don't know how old he is, whatever. And there's a dog with him. So I go in the house. I'm like, the room I'm supposed to be in cleaning, I'm supposed to move this dresser and move a bunch of stuff and put it on the other side, put some plastic over it. As I go up there, I move the dresser and there's like a pencil in drawing on the back of this thing. And, immediately my eyesight's like, oh, someone probably scribbled whatever, whatever. So as I'm moving this dresser, I'm like looking at this drawing. I'm like, what the And there in this drawing, there's a guy. Then there's like this mesh drawn behind him. And then there's like an angel with these star things around the angel's head. And then there's another guy with this like eye in the middle of his head.
Yes.
And literally, and I'm looking at this and what it looks like. And then behind the web, it looks like someone basically in pieces moving behind the web looking through. And someone sketched all of this out with a pencil. And I took the pictures and I'm like, I'm talking to my wife. I call her up. I'm like, you won't even guess what I found today based on the conversations and everything we've been having that same day and everything that happened the week prior. So I'm like, this is fucking weird. So I go outside and I see the dog. Now, the whole time that this guy's been there, I haven't seen him. Not in the entire house as I'm walking through, nowhere. Only saw him in the front of the house, then disappeared. And then all I see is the dog. I go outside, the dog's just sitting there, the dog's staring at me, and I'm looking at this dog. The dog's just staring at me, I'm staring at the dog. I go inside and come out, and the car's gone. That came with that guy in there. Didn't hear the car start, didn't hear nothing. And I'm just sitting there thinking to myself, and I'm like, I saw a guy, right? Didn't I? Yeah, I saw a guy come here. And he had the dog, but I only saw the dog. Like, I only just saw the dog. I saw the guy with the dog once. Then I saw the dog, and I'm like, oh, maybe I was going around. He went around. I just couldn't see him, whatever. But as I go home, I'm looking at these pictures. And these pictures are like from what I've learned. And I know whoever drew it, this is why artists connect sometimes, because people think it's just, they're so dope, they're this. No, it's really, imagine being in a place where where kind of the highest level of thinking and morality is. Mm-hmm. Where you can think yourself in a way where
flow
you're
state.
in heaven.
Flow state.
Pretty much. Yep. Mm-hmm. And what would ever make you leave that state?
Nothing.
What if
needing to come to reality?
But why would you ever need to come? To save who? To save what? Or people need saving?
Humanity, other people.
So on that pedestal of thought that you're way above the skylines, up there with the angels, with God, you're in heaven. You jump off every time and jump into the fire to save one at a time, two at a time. Because why? What made you love people so much? Exactly. And meaning, and literally, when you jump off that pedestal, you are fighting all sorts of thoughts for people, not even for yourself. Yep. You are literally bringing light into the darkest corners of people's minds.
Yep.
And some people don't even know that they need it.
I love the term planting seeds. So straightforward.
Exactly.
Dude, babies are made because men plant seed in an egg, and then God does work, and the woman does work. But you plant the seed. seeds of the dude. Exactly. You plant a little light, and you might not even know if it resonated. But like 3 weeks later, 4 weeks later, you might get a message like, "Hey, you did this for me," and like this happened. Like, whoa, I
Yep.
didn't expect. That's not what I was trying to do, but all right, that's all
Yep.
right. It's beautiful.
It is. It is. It's a beautiful thing, honestly. And this, it's a feeling that no drug could ever give you.
100%.
Literally.
100%. 100%. That's how I explain to people. It's just understanding that connection to God, the world, and understand like when you can have those conversations, it's literally mind-blowing feeling. Like nothing
Yeah.
compares. Literally, I've never experienced anything that compared anything. And the closest I've gotten to it, I'm not gonna lie, is when I've tried psychedelics. And that was like, but all that did for me, it wasn't got closer to it. It was like forced me to go to where I go on my own. Is what I
Yeah.
felt. It was
Because,
almost like we're
well,
forcing you to get to where you know you're gonna go anyway. This is what you do, but this is gonna be like the quick bang, get there. And it's like, whoa. But if you don't know
because
that, something else might happen to you. You might see some
yeah,
really dark
because
shit.
psychedelics, with psychedelics, obviously, I've obviously indulged in psychedelics, but with psychedelics, for me, when I think of psychedelics, I think of you experience what your mind like kind of has at the forefront. And
Makes
if you
sense.
could get past that forefront, you'll really get into something.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
100%.
it tries, like your mind tries to warn you off of it. Like you'll see skulls, you'll see this, you'll see all sorts of shit, and sometimes you'll freak out because what really is happening is everything that you've placed in your own mind, you're now confronting. And that's what a trip is. when
Makes
when
sense.
they a trip or whatever, they're not talking about you not being able to walk or being woozy. They're talking about a trip to reality.
Yeah.
And when you come face to face with that reality, it is so unbelievable that you literally try to. That's why when you hear people have a bad trip, they literally try to kind of go back paddle, literally try to
How do I get
look
out of this? Yeah.
at this. No, I'm not.
Yeah.
Basically, I'm not ready for this.
Right.
But and then they're like, oh, people come out of it and people will say, oh man, like that's bad. That's this. That. No. Your mind is what was
It's
holding
bad.
all the things. You couldn't,
Yeah,
and when
it's your
people couldn't
pineal
take
gland.
it, exactly. And
The
it could
science
end
behind
bad
it.
for
That's all it
people.
does.
It could end bad for people, but at the same time, you gotta watch what you feed your mind.
Mm-hmm.
You can't just like literally the quickest way to kill someone is to put shit in their food. And if your mind is eating and eating and eating, and you're eating shit, you're making yourself sick.
Yep.
So if you keep your mental clear, and I'm not saying this is the cure for anything, but if I could tell anyone that has depression, anyone that literally fights day in with looking at themselves, thinking whatever the thoughts may be, you gotta realize self-love is the best love. You
Yeah,
gotta, you
buddy.
know what I'm saying? Self-love
Self
is the best
as
love.
Dizzy Wright would say, self love is powerful. Hurt is the only way.
Uh-huh. You know, you don't even know how bad you are. You don't even know how mighty great you are. You wake up every day and you limit yourself to simple possibilities when your possibilities are quantum.
Yeah.
You can do anything.
Yep.
And honestly, anyone that ever tells you really can't do anything, that person is not. Don't take offense to it. That person is literally projecting their own securities on you.
And you let it hit you. You get that?
Exactly. It's up to
Yep.
you to let your mind let that get to you.
That's
Honestly.
one of the biggest common things. I used to fight depression. So that's the best thing too. Is like a lot of people will think you don't understand it if you say things like that. My whole family's been medicated on depression medication. My grandma raised me as well. I love that you said that earlier. I was raised by grandma. She died when I was a kid, but anyway, when I was 17. But she was on depression medication. The thing is,
Yep.
I was depressed earlier in life, different things, but I had to learn. Like it was for me, it was why do I feel like this? And I could always tie it to things that were around me, whether they were things I put around me or things that were stuck around me. And that is one of the hardest realities that people face. Like I've met people who are so depressed, but every time they vent to me and talk to me, I can always tie it to one specific thing, and they just don't want to hear like, oh, this is because of your mother. What the fuck? My mom? Yeah. Yeah, it's exactly
Yeah,
why you feel
just
like you feel. Or your boyfriend. No, it ain't my boy. Yes. Like
yeah,
everything you
you
just said to
gotta
me, what if your boyfriend wasn't there all day or your mom wasn't there all day? Yeah. And they're like, well, yeah, sometimes you got to make hard decisions, and or you confront that decision. If you don't want to
yep.
end a relationship, if you don't want to end a job with a boss that brings you to that state, or a partnership, you confront that person no matter who they are, and you don't have to be aggressive. You can just tell them what they're doing to you, and if they don't respect that, that's when you cut off energy. You have to.
Yeah, and especially if they don't respect that, then that's being them being selfish because
Yep.
they're not respecting that you're feeling this way. And if you express that feeling, meaning it takes a lot for you to literally bring that internal feeling out. And a lot of people think you're attacking them, you're doing this,
Right.
but really what you're trying to do is you're not only trying to look out for your benefit, because what if that kind of it's like an infection of
Right.
toxicity where all of a sudden you're around someone that makes you feel like crap. It beats you down. It basically siphons your energy every time.
Without
Next,
them
you
even doing anything. That's the biggest point to what
exactly.
I was trying to point out. I didn't say it. I'm happy you said that. As in, once that thing, place, or person already has that condensation in your head, it's there. They don't. You could wake up, and if it's a partner, you could be so depressed just because that partner's next to you, and they could be happy. They could be trying to make you happy, like, "Hey, I want to fix things," but you could
Yeah,
already have it. Nope, fuck this person. Like, and you might not even. It could be so subconscious that you still can't even connect it, and you just don't know why you feel like
exactly.
shit, and you're like, "I feel
Well,
horrible. I hate
you
this. I hate
gotta
that."
also it starts from within because there's that let go factor where sometimes I even fight with it, where you
Mm-hmm.
just gotta
We all
literally just
do.
let go. And
Yep.
once you let go, it's kind of like one of those fleeting thoughts, and where in one moment you can be the lowest you could ever be. And honestly, I didn't know what depression was and all that because where I'm from, we didn't go to the hospital a lot for things like that. We didn't have pills like that to cope with a lot of things. So when you were having anything like that, no one ever kind of put those things together. When I
Right.
moved there, I realized there were so many symptoms having to do with things like that, and realized that maybe as a kid I felt it, maybe as an adult I felt it. And then when I realized I was reading the Bible, I was reading the Torah, I was reading all these religious texts and all this, and in all these texts they spoke about one thing that came out to me.
Love.
It was all about love, and the only way that this love could ever be challenged is if you have demons. And I'm like thinking to myself, do they mean real physical demons? But no, what they mean is if you have something that's bothering you in your mind, whether it be any type of thought, and it's a thought that you shut away, but it's at every creaking thought, sometimes you
Mm-hmm.
can't sleep because of it.
Yep.
Anything, say you got into some type of traumatic experience, something that literally manifested into a demon. And you're
Yes.
fighting these thoughts, you're fighting. Sometimes people kill themselves over it.
Yep.
And why do you think they make all these exorcism movies and all this? Because depression invites those thoughts.
100%.
And when you leave yourself susceptible, people call it possession, people call it whatever they want to call it. But the moment you get into that, it's like people can't even reach you. You want
Right.
yourself to feel pain. Sometimes when they have those kids going to shoot up schools and all that, people always say like, "Oh my God, this person is crazy. Oh my God." And then it goes back to, "Oh, this person was bullied." Then it goes back to all this. But then really what it goes back to is this all could have been resolved if people literally saw it when for what it was.
And helped him versus make him feel
Exactly.
worse about
People
himself.
push
Yeah.
it off like, oh, he's just getting bullied. Oh, this is just happening. Oh, this next, he shoots up a whole school and he's the terrorist. He's the worst person alive. He's the worst anything. Or
Yep.
this, they're the worst anything. But no one ever stops to realize, okay, what happened? Because maybe we could stop this again.
Yep.
And whenever anyone tries to, it's never a big problem because
Yep.
every person that's a little bit older than us could tell you, oh, that happened to every one of us. We didn't snap or crack or this. Well, there's some other kids who feel more. There's other kids who are more sensitive, who are more empathetic.
Yep.
And if they can't be allowed to be that, or else they're gonna have to be shunned, be in depression. And those are some of the people that go through depression are the strongest people, and they don't even know it.
100%. I love that
Some
you
of
said
them
that.
they don't
And
even
and
know it.
that goes back to our comment earlier about God really does give his strongest and bravest the hardest battles. And
Yep.
the problem is we live in a world where we're not allowed to know truth. We know what we're told.
Yep.
So if you don't have anybody spreading real love and light onto you, you don't know. You don't know that you're that strong, and you're going through what you're going through for a reason. Like,
Yep.
I look at my sister. I'm using the
Completely agree.
example. My
100%.
sister and Mike with drug addiction. Like, they're both at a point in their lives where they know, like, yeah, it sucked. Everything I went through sucked, but I wouldn't change it because I now I know what I could do for other people because of what I
Yep.
went through. And so many people don't think there's anything out there to help them. Like, it's a beautiful thing. It's shitty, but
It
it's a
is. It
beautiful
is.
thing.
It is. It all like it goes back. All takes belief. You have to believe in yourself in a world where they teach you not to believe in yourself.
Yes.
They teach you to basically be something else. They always show you something that you could be better at. There will always be something that they will show you that could be better.
Except when you're a kid. They do it right when you're a kid. What do you want to be? Believe in yourself.
Yep.
You're a hero. And then all of a
Yep.
sudden they're like, oh, we were just kidding.
Yeah, you gotta
Be this.
You can't be this.
It's like, wait,
Yep.
what happened?
Exactly.
And that's depression comes in. What I thought I
Yep.
could be everything. I thought this was real. I thought that was real. I thought that was real. What do you mean? Like, what the fuck's real?
Exactly.
And now you're stuck not knowing what's real. You're like, I don't know
Yep.
what's real anymore.
And that's where it comes in on. I used to think when I was a kid, I used to think that it was something that every adult knew that made them an adult. I used to think that one day you wake up and you just know something that just made you grown up. And
that's awesome.
as like I got older and older and that thing wasn't coming, I just kept like realizing, I'm like, wait a minute, are they all just going off of what the person before them did, and they're just trying to cope with it, trying to just carry along? And it seems like there's a system, but really there's not a system. And this hypothetical of, okay, our parents did it this way, so we're gonna do it this way. Even if it didn't work, we're gonna still do it this way because it slightly worked.
It's my family's way. I'm fine.
Yeah.
I hate the world, but I'm fine.
Exactly. And you're sitting there thinking to yourself, wait a minute, no, this can't be right. This cannot be right. Like,
I'm with you 100%.
Yeah, honestly, once you figure it out, like I sometimes remember days where I feel like, man, I am so happy that I have the knowledge that I have. I am so happy that I'm not sitting in darkness every day. And if I don't drink a beer, if I don't get whatever, if I don't do this, I'm still going to be happy. Because none of those things make my happiness. Happiness is a direction.
Yes.
You gotta every day, you gotta feel it, you gotta know it. Even in the saddest moments, sometimes, like me and my girl will have sometimes small arguments or whatever. And I'll be upset. And then all it takes is one thought to switch it.
Yeah. Literally, that's 100%. That's why I mentioned that earlier. Like the whole fake it till you make it. You don't want to fake it till you make it, but that's so legit. It's so
like
legit. You just got to change it.
Becoming Supernatural, Joe Dispenza.
I love Joe Dispenza.
So, exactly. In his
I got the book. I got the book, and I got the. What's the other one? I don't know. I got this other book. Not Becoming Supernatural. The other one. One of them. I got one.
Yeah, there's another one there. The one I have is Becoming Supernatural. Yep. And that one, it basically teaches you. Yeah, it teaches you that your thoughts are basically like a dial. Your thoughts can bring you to heaven or hell.
Yes.
When you're angry, you're in the lowest frequency. You're in that hell. Sometimes nothing you do can bring you out of that. And when you're sad, when you're
on anger, anybody watching this?
Middle emotions.
Sorry. Speaking on anger, anybody watching this, go look back at one of the pieces of content we created yesterday. It's up on the Instagram, Facebook. It's literally about anger and how to react in anger. So I'm happy you just said that, but my bad. Keep going.
Yeah. And honestly, like noticing this and literally bringing it to the forefront, you challenge it and you could bring yourself, you could raise your vibration right off that, raise your frequency. Like, no, I'm not going to let this 2 seconds destroy my entire day. I'm not going to let this little small thing do this, because there's some things out of your control. There's some things in your control, but you got to put it all in God's hands. You got to put the higher like me, literally, whenever I can't control something or something's gonna happen, listen, God knows best. He knows
Yeah,
what's coming, and I believe that there's nothing he's gonna put in front of me that I can't handle. And
I love
any
that.
obstacle he think is too great, he will remove.
What's funny is I know you meditate every day. I feel like you do sometimes more than once a day. I'm the same way. And this relates to everything we've just been saying. Like for myself, from my own experience, I want to point out to anybody on this podcast, again, a lot of people reach out to me and came to like, well, I don't meditate, it doesn't work for me, this and that. You're not meditating right. And what I want to say is learn meditating, learn different ways. There's different ways that work best for different people. And for me, that is the number one key to any negative emotion. For a pure
Yeah,
example, is I'm talking last week, I went through this battle in my head where I'm like, I don't want to do anything. And I'm like, I'm fighting myself to do things. I'm doing subconscious. You know what I said? I'm like, go meditate. To the point of where I'm in that fighting stage. No, I don't even want to meditate. Meditation's boring right now. Like it's weird, but it will happen. But when I force myself, when I say, all right, I'm gonna just go do it. Let me just go meditate. The second
yeah,
I start to try to meditate, it all just goes away. And
yep,
that's not going to happen for everyone viewing this. If you don't meditate regularly, that's not going to happen, but it will in a few minutes. So when I say it just goes away, it's because I meditate every day. I could get
yeah.
there and be
Deeply
like
go into
you might have
deep
to fight
thought.
that. You know what I mean? Yeah, you might have to fight that a little bit. But if you just shut your body up, just lay down, lay down, sit down. Don't move a muscle, not one muscle, not a finger. Just sit and just close your eyes, breathe and relax. It sounds crazy, but all the most successful people in the world will tell you that they meditate every day. But it's something that we
Yep,
won't teach in school still. It's something that some religions
yep.
say are bad, some say are good, which is confusing. Like I've talked to a pastor who said meditating is demonic. And I literally pulled up a quote from the Bible. The Bible, it says Isaiah was meditating under a tree. I'm like, so one of your prophets and your religion's meditating under a tree, telling you Jesus is coming, but yet it's demonic. Where are we now? And they're like,
Because
they don't even know what to say.
they want to be the teachers, and
Yeah,
that's where you got to realize that in this society now, you can't trust. And like I'm not going to say you can't trust any of that type of stuff, because I had someone reach out to me about some of my music I was making and some of the things I was doing, and saying that it was demonic because they didn't understand it.
of course.
And then they told me, oh, well, the music industry is demonic. Well, this is demonic, and you doing this is demonic. You know, I am a strong believer in I can't sell my soul,
Right.
because my soul is a divine right. That is something that was literally is mine.
It's yours. It's who
Given
you
to
are.
me. Exactly. And a lot of people, I believe you can sell yourself. You can
Yes.
sell yourself, sell your beliefs,
Yep.
sell your morals. But in that
Hollywood.
sense, in a
Yeah, I
way,
got you.
exactly, in a way, it's like selling your soul. But if you come to someone and I say, hey, you're evil because you meditate, and like you said, in the Bible, it said one of the prophets were meditating. So you're telling me that I can't do what the prophets did. I can't say that I'm doing what Jesus did in the sense
Thank you.
of knowledge and all that. Because why? Jesus didn't tell me I should do that, because he did.
Right.
He did say that I should seek enlightenment.
Exactly, dude. And that's my
Yeah,
biggest point is like it's still mind blowing to me that meditation's not taught worldwide in every single school from a kid. Like, do you know who Jay Shetty is?
Jay Shetty.
He's one of my favorite mentors. I'm gonna tell you a quick thing. He quit technology, everything he was going on in his career. Family wanted him to do a certain thing, engineer. He went to be a monk. Literally gave up his life. Said, "I'm going to be a monk." And he said that one of the biggest things he learned was right in the beginning. He saw a 10-year-old teaching a class to 5-year-olds. So like a kid my son's age, I'm visualizing it, teaching a bunch of 5-year-olds, and all he's teaching them is how to breathe and how to just be aware. And he's like, "What do you teach them?" He's like, well, traditional schools in like the United States, they teach ABCs, writing, numbers. He goes, the first thing we teach the kids is to understand themselves from within, to understand who they are from within. At 5 years
Yeah,
old. Why is this not happening all around the world? Is my thing. Like when you learn the benefits and the science behind how powerful meditation is, it should be everyone. If you're watching this podcast and you've never tried to meditate, you're blowing my mind right now. Just take a little bit of advice and just try. And if you don't, that doesn't mean sit there and figure it out on your own. If you don't know how to meditate, ask questions, look it up. It will
yeah.
change your life. It will literally change your life if
There's
you do it
one
right
thing.
one time. One time right, change your life. But then you got to keep doing it. But you got to say that one time that you connect, you're gonna be like, what just happened? And it's life changing. You know,
it becomes addicting. It honestly becomes addicting once you get into it.
It does. All right, I love you, but we went way off topic, which I'm fine with. I'm sure the audience loves it. I'm sure they loved it.
Right.
But before we wrap up this podcast, what else do you have on lucid dreaming? If anything we didn't cover, and if we did, before we wrap up, let's like bullet points, like the big things for people again. Like,
so
unless there's anything we didn't cover that you want to go on.
One thing I like, what you were saying earlier, I do believe that everyone should start a journal. I do believe that as soon as people wake up, they should really get that out there. I mean, honestly, I'm not saying I'm the greatest. I'm not saying a lot of people that don't have journals greatest, but that's how I start out. I even have a book that's my journal that I use for hypothesis. I use for everything I study, things to remember. I have my little blue book of everything written down. Whenever I forget anything, whenever I want to think about something, whenever I forget, I go right into that book. I flip, boom, boom, boom. It's my own whatever you manifesto, whatever you want to call it.
It's a conscious act. You can't subconsciously write.
Exactly. And also with lucid dreaming, it might not happen your first try. It might not happen your second try, but do not let that discourage you, for the simple fact you could look up and you could type it into Google, you could type it in anywhere, and there's so much stuff on lucid dreaming. You know it's real, it's there.
Yeah, 100%.
And honestly, some people, it happens right away. Some people could literally slip right into it because it's either past life things, either they have always
gift.
known
it could be their gift.
Exactly. And as soon as they tap in, they're right back where they were in a past life, and they can do everything. But with that being said, be mindful. Remember to go in with a clear mind. Remember to, feed your intellect with good stuff. Light. Feed light. Feed good emotions, good thoughts. Practice good thinking. That's what I do in my meditation. Practice thinking good about your friends, your family, even your enemies that you don't like. Wish them well.
Yes.
Those things, your heart, love is the key. I try to tell people all the time.
100%.
Overwhelming feeling can take you there, and I know some people don't understand how it connects, but try it. Just try it. Connect to everything, and it costs love, and love is free. You can love your brother, your mother, your sister, and you can love and love and love, and guess what? You can love and love even more, and it won't take any love from anything else.
100%.
Yep.
But one other thing that I don't know if you agree with this, like there's like cliche type tips, but I've tried them because they work, like the subconscious rewiring. So like during your day, ask yourself if you're dreaming throughout the day, randomly. Am I dreaming? And look around, and you'll know if you're dreaming. Give yourself a little, my fingers are here. I'm all right. But here's the crazy shit. You might lucid dream and be able to do this and not go through. And be like, no, I'm not dreaming. It depends on how you get there. Like, but you'll know if you're dreaming. That's one of the things I learned. And I, to be honest, I didn't use that technique, but I read a lot about that technique. So throughout the day, because then you're going to get into your dream, and it's going to be subconsciously wired in. And you're going to be in the dream, and you're going to say, am I dreaming? And then now your awareness is going to peak. Am I dreaming? You're going to look around. And you're like, what the fuck? That's a green elephant? All right, I'm dreaming. Yep. And it's like, oh, yeah, you're dreaming.
Yeah, you're dreaming.
But that subconscious question, it's like, even it sounds crazy during the day, like right here, right now. Am I dreaming? I'm like, well, I do podcasts pretty often, so this ain't a dream. I do this. All right, this is real. I do this.
Yeah, this is real life.
Yeah. If this was the first time we did a podcast, I'd be questioning it, like, am I dreaming? No, I'm good. Like,
or
really
you getting a blueprint for the future, one of those type of things.
Yep. The journal's the biggest one, in my opinion. The awareness. Yep. And the biggest one for me, and I didn't really connect it until like a little recently, actually, during research, is the get 4 to 5 hours of sleep and wake up. So it sounds shitty. There's people who love their sleep and they're like, no way. You're still gonna get your damn sleep. Put your alarm 4 hours after you go to bed. It's gonna suck at first because you're gonna wake up. But when you do it with intention, it's not gonna suck. You're gonna be excited.
What do you have to lose?
You're gonna be excited. You're doing it for a reason. You're doing it for this intention. So you're gonna wake up and be like, all right, just take some breaths. And then, like Akeem said, when you go back to sleep, try to fight it because your body's in sleep state
Yep.
still. Your body's going to go right back to sleep. If you try to fight it, you're going to sleep. Keep your eyes closed and try to stay awake as long as you can in your mind.
Yep.
And that's when
Thoughts.
you're going to
Just keep
reconnect.
projecting thoughts. Keep your conscious
Yep.
up. And honestly, like I feel like once your conscious is awake and you start dreaming, there's nothing it can do except for now once you're in there, you're trying to basically fragment yourself in or trying to basically, it's like you sometimes you see a shell of yourself and you're kind of like trying to get into your body in a way.
Yep.
I don't know if that makes sense, but like you're trying to literally get into your own body to see from your own eyes, and that's where the control happens.
Actually, I'm going to question you on it because it makes sense. I remember when I first started lucid dreaming, and I feel like you said it earlier, because for people that might not know what's happening, you see yourself as something else at first. Or you might just see like from the eyes, no body, or you might just see an arm like, oh shit, that's my arm. That's my tattoo.
Exactly.
That's my tattoos too. What the hell? Oh, my legs and shit.
And then
everything's
boom,
here.
You're there.
Yeah.
It's like
because you're just in the vision at first. You're not like you don't know what you're visioning from. You're just visioning. You're like, what am I seeing?
Exactly. You know? Where am I? What's going on? And literally, it's like kind of being born into a world, but like being born like with your conscious, with your like everything. And once you open your eyes, it's like I remember for me, it's like first I'm seeing light, I'm seeing this, then I'm seeing this, then I'm seeing a little bit of color, then I'm seeing people that I don't know, then I'm seeing things from distance away, and I'm like, all right. And then all of a sudden it starts like when I really got into it, I started jumping from where I was a kid, where I was born in South America, to here, to all these places merged as one. And I'm like, wow, this is a pretty cool world. Like, you know?
Bro, as I'm listening to you, this is beautiful. As we're wrapping up, some channeling just came through, and I got an awesome message for one more. And this is like the biggest thing for me. I don't know why. I feel like a little kid. And Akeem knows I figured this part out like recently, because I always knew about the blank canvas. But when I realized there was another version of a blank canvas, I literally just got fed from a source a beautiful way to describe it. And I'm like, oh my God, I can't wait to say this now. Do you remember being a kid? You had the little camera thing and you click it and it.
Yeah, and it goes the little things around.
Do you remember the black moment before the next picture came?
Yeah, and they had that little black.
Yes. Hear me out real quick. For anyone who else remembers that, the whole black canvas I talk about, I tried my best to explain. When you close your eyes, like I'm closing right now, you can see dark. That's what you see.
Yeah.
That getting into that dream state is literally that happening. Like it's like another shade of black. It doesn't like slowly come in. It goes like just.
Yep.
And then it's like boom. I'm like, what the? I'm like, I'm here. And when I first started connecting that dot, that was probably the most mind-blowing thing I ever connected. Because I'm like, now I look for that. I'm like, all right, it's dark. I need the next level. I need the next level of darkness. And it literally is like it's like that toy that used to the wheel that would spin and have the little film and shake, shake. And I can you know what I'm saying? Like you'll see that whole black film just go bang, just come over all at once. Yeah. What is happening there? I haven't dug deep enough to figure out what that is in the brain that's doing that. What is that? Your opinion?
I think that's the traveling process. I think that's a process of you literally like, okay, so it's like, imagine the world that you travel to is right here, right next to you, but you can't see it with these eyes. You could see with your mental eye. So as soon as you close, it's like you're focusing in. Like a camera, like where it's like dark and you're like kind of trying to get focused. Because if you notice, once it gets darker and that film like click, and then all of a sudden you kind of start to see spots of color, like a pinkish, greenish, or whatever dark colors you start to see. Then they start to get lighter and lighter and lighter. It's like a painter and their art canvas, and they throw all the paint on. And then it starts to like make a photo or make a picture.
Oh man!
And it's your brain kind of like etching on what's there or what you're creating, because some people, they don't create. They don't have the imagination to create. Always keep your imagination. Without imagination, you don't have anything.
So I love that you said that. Dude, I talk about this song on every podcast lately. Current Joys. The song's called Kids. Everyone listen to it. It's a simple song, but it literally talks about the process of being a kid and how you live in your heart. Nothing's in your head. You're stupid in a sense, to the point where parents are like, why the hell did you make that little mistake? And the kid's like, why do I need to be sorry? The kid doesn't need to be sorry. The kid was learning. It's like, You're supposed to make mistakes. But to them, now we're wiring them that they did something wrong. And you keep getting older and doing wrong when you're literally just trying to see, what can I do? Oh, I can't do that. Okay. Then you get to a point where, bang, now you're in the head. This is fake. That's fake. That's fake. That's fake. And it's like, what the fuck? Now you have to be here. And you get to an age where you're like, all right, so what's real? What's fake? You just left. You just left the heart and went to the brain. And that's the yin and the yang, people. The heart and the brain.
You went from the basement to the attic.
We go from one to the other, and guess what? Being reborn is connecting them again and finding the balance between them again. That's all it is.
As above, so below.
Yep. Oh, man. This is good. This is good stuff. This is good stuff. Anything else on lucid dreaming, brother?
I think we gave him the rundown. I don't see how this, honestly, anyone watching this should be able to grasp this, because we brought this from low frequency to high frequency to medium frequency, and we laid out pretty much exactly the steps you would need to take. And honestly, you know, me or you, and they could hit any one of us up.
Yes, please do. Please do.
Information.
And again, the journey. Oh, actually, one other thing where we're working on a guided meditation right now for the viewers. And it's literally the basis behind it. It was my praying sessions and meditating. God told me to create this. It might sound crazy to some of you, but the whole purpose of this meditation is you're going to feel your heart. When I say feel your heart, you're going to be so connected to your heart, you ain't even going to know you're going to cry. You're going to cry like a baby. And then you're going to take a little stairway down to your root chakra. And then we're going to work our way back up from the root chakra. And when you hit the heart again, you're going to be like in freaking total bliss. And then you're going to go up. And when you get up here, that's when magic's going to happen. We're going to have fun. And it's going to be good. I have somebody working on it right now doing the narration for me. The whole thing's written up, created, the audio, the frequencies, everything's in. Now we're just putting the vocals, the guided part over it. So that, and then the other thing, guys, our journey guide program. I've tried to explain it multiple times. It's not life coaching, but it is. It's like, think of this simple thing. We've talked about a lot of topics here today.
Yeah.
If you feel like you don't get all these things, that is exactly what our journey guide program is for. Like, I want to understand this deeper. If you're like, hey, I've been listening to Akeem talk for a while, I would love to have him as a journey guide. Reach out to us. Reach out to us. That's the whole point of the journey guide program. You know what I mean? We want to help. My biggest goal is world peace. Like I said, how do we do that? How is my view on doing that? We all have different views. Mine is, how many people can I help understand what I understand?
Yep.
At the level, and just, what do you want to know? Ask me. I want to help you understand what I understand. Because the more people understand what I get, it just feels so much more amazing. And like, you understand the lonely feeling too, maybe, like I do. In the beginning, you're going to feel lonely because nobody's going to get you. So don't be afraid to come ask people for help. Or if you feel like you know things that people don't know, talk about it. You're going to be shocked at how many people connect with you.
Like-minded people.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
That will really change your life.
Exactly.
For sure. All right. That's all I got on lucid dreaming. Nothing else, Akeem? We're good. We covered a lot. All right, man. I appreciate you jumping on again. It was fun. Hey, guys, keep looking out for good content.
Appreciate it.
For sure, man.
It's a pleasure every time. You know this.
This was a good one. I felt good about this. I can't wait to
honestly, this was definitely a good one. You know, great topic. You know, I feel like we got some good information out there. You know, and you know, I really truly believe that this is going to help a lot of people along the line.
100%. Yeah, and guys, next week's podcast, you want to tell them? Quantum, quantum possibilities. We're going everywhere. We're doing quantum physics, everything quantum related. You hear the word quantum? Start doing some digging, because we're going to be talking. This is probably going to be like an hour and a half podcast. We're going to have fun.
Be ready.
It's time to blow some brains open in the next podcast.
Right?
All right, guys. Thank you for joining us. Hopefully you liked it. Again, shoot us comments. Ask us things. If you have topics you want to hear us talk about in the podcast, we're related to spirituality, law of attraction, mindset, your brain, life, shoot us a topic. I'm happy to talk about anything. If it's relevant, let us know what you want to hear. We'll dive deep. We'll answer questions. We'll have fun with you guys.
Of course.
Right, so, thank you again, Akeem. Thank you again, people. And
all right,
vibing with us.
All right. Have a good night.
Later, man.
Later.